We're back, guys. I've got no idea what episode it is, but back on the Edgecast, brought to you by Aftermarket Arbitrage. Familiar faces back with us, Markuss Hustle. So Markuss has took on a new venture since the last podcast and is extremely successful with it. Super interesting topic, probably a bit of a controversial one to a lot of people, but let's dig into it, find out how it works and how you can do it as well. So good to have you back on, mate.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, mate. No problem.
Now I'm literally around the corner.
Yeah. So for anyone watching, you won't be able to see, but the penthouse is just on the other side. Markuss is now living there, which has been it's been good on it, and it's sort of it's a testament to your success with your new business, isn't it? And getting in there. I think let's drop the bomb on exactly what you're doing. A lot of people are going to want to know if they've not already seen you on TikTok, because you've exploded on TikTok as well. So let's go.
Yeah, for sure. So we run an OnlyFans management company.
Yep.
Which I think to a lot of guys nowadays, like early into 2023, it's like, oh my God, I've heard about it so many times. Like, without sounding big-headed, like, unfortunately, I've been the person that created this epidemic of everybody switching from e-commerce, dropshipping, SMA into OnlyFans management. Which is really interesting because when we had the first episode, me and you, to the public, I was only doing SMMA, so marketing, which technically OFM stands for OnlyFans management. Technically, OFM is a form of SMMA, like it's a form of marketing agency. It's just a different niche, a different industry. You're working with OnlyFans models and creators. But ever since I really started taking it seriously and like really looking at it as a business rather than like a little side hustle, I've just started to realize, well, why don't I just, rather than having split focus on different businesses, different topics every day, thinking about random shit, what if I just put all my focus into this one business venture and I just went full in with it? And that's exactly what I done pretty much after the podcast that we done, which is now about a year ago. Which also was crazy when I came here into this apartment the first time. I was like, "Wow, this is crazy! Like this apartment is so sick." And it must have literally been like 4 months after I literally moved into the one like next door.
Yeah, and bro's paying like double our rent as well, so he's doing very well for himself.
Yeah, I'm getting shafted by my my landlord. But I just really wanted it, bro. It's like it's been on my my lock screen is like my vision board. I don't know if people will be able to see that, but at the top is like the penthouse, which is essentially like our penthouse is laid out a little bit differently. So we have like 2-story glazed windows rather than having like the ceiling here. And I remember when I first walked in there, I was like, I need this. This I've had this in my vision for a while. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have to pay double, but I want it.
And that's it. And it's exactly that sort of mindset of you. If you put your mind to it, you know you can pull it off, and you've been able to do that extremely well. So how long has it been going for now? It's Aura, isn't it?
Aura Consulting. Yeah. So, well, it's interesting because there's 2 different departments, right?
Okay.
So one of them has been about for longer than the other one. So the one that I was initially started, which was just a model management side of things. So that's the actual business where we'd essentially manage models, help them with their marketing and manage their OnlyFans and increase their earnings, all right? So that in itself has been going for about a year, about 2 years. And then the coaching side of things is essentially the same as any other coaching business where we just help guys skip all the mistakes and failures and we just teach them how to do it the right way, straight away. That's been going for about 7 months, I want to say. Yeah.
And so on the managing the girl side, let's dig into that first, then we'll switch on to the core side of it. So how, like you're talking about obviously scaling them up and increasing their revenue, helping them earn more through marketing. What does that look like? What are you getting involved with on a day-to-day basis? Because I'm sure to a lot of people watching, like they're going to be interested as to what actually you do and what you see, what's the job and like do.
Yeah, for sure. So it depends from model to model. Some models we are more hands-on in their social media. Some of them we just consult them. So we just teach them, hey, you should be posting this at this certain time on this platform and so on and so on. I guess if I was to do like an average and just like a typical client I will work with, for the social media, we essentially will obviously consult them on the do's and don'ts of every platform. So for example, Twitter and TikTok, you can get away with completely different things on vice versa of the platform, right? So Twitter, you can post not safe for work.
Yeah, Twitter, you can literally Twitter can be like a like
Yeah. So in our industry, by the way, there's terms that I might mention just so you guys know. So not safe for work and safe for work. essentially not safe for work is like nude content, etc. Safe for work is like what you'd post on Instagram. All right. And obviously those two platforms, just as an example, you can post different things. So yeah, Twitter, you can post whatever the fuck you want pretty much. Whereas TikTok, you have to be very, very careful. So there's different ways of marketing it. And obviously to the average girl who is just starting OnlyFans, maybe she doesn't have a very in-depth knowledge in social media. And she might think, oh, well, I'll just post a video of my ass on TikTok and I'll just get loads of subs. Which in an ideal world sounds great, but it doesn't quite work because you'll lose your account and then all of a sudden you have to start from zero. And then if you get enough of those accounts banned, you can't use TikTok as a whole on your device. You get like banned on your device, right? So anyway, to answer your question, what do we kind of do? So essentially we'll take on a model. We will do a deep dive on what has she got going on right now. Everything from her marketing, her content, her OnlyFans, and then what does she actually do on OnlyFans itself. Then we'll give her essentially advice on what needs to be changed. If she's quite a large creator in terms of income, we might actually jump on board, hire somebody to manage certain aspects for her. But most time we just give advice on social media. We give content plans as well. So rather than the girl having to think about what kind of content to create, we'll literally just tell her. For example, we've got Valentine's coming up soon, loads of different ideas like games that they can play, etc. So we just give them those ideas, they create the content. However, on OnlyFans side of things, like the platform on OF, we completely take care of that. They don't even have to log into it. They obviously have access to it still, but we completely take care of it.
Is that in terms of like the messaging on there? Because I know like we've spoke about this and you said that one of the sort of things that people don't really take advantage of is the ability to message. But I don't really understand how that works. What is it?
Sure. So, and that's actually where most of the money is made on OnlyFans, is in the messages. So in terms of OnlyFans, we will, everything that needs to be done is posting on the wall, scheduling content, coming up with different like games and stuff, like, because you want to keep the subs interacting with you, because you got to remember as well, it's such a competitive market, right? That one guy who's subscribed to the one girl, he's probably subscribed to another 20 more, right? So you need to give him a reason to keep wanting to come back. Just because he's paying you $20 a month doesn't mean he's going to carry on. He's probably going to stop next month. But if you have things like games, such as like spin the wheel, for example. So some of our girls will go on live streams on OnlyFans and they'll do like spin the wheel, for example. Just interactive things like that. But then also building those relationships in the DMs. That's really, really important.
That's I was just thinking then, like, that spin the wheel. It's almost like fucking gambling, isn't it? Like everyone's hoping they hit the jackpot. Like I bet that's why they get hooked to it.
Literally, yeah. So there's loads of different other little games as well, such as like roll the dice, for example. So you have like a board with essentially different boxes, and you have two dices. And then when the girl, for example, essentially the guy needs to tip, right, in order to have a chance. So let's just say he dips $20, and then the girl live on camera will like throw the two dices. And for example, if it lands on like 1-1, then it's the first box. And for example, that might be like a Zoom call or like a Skype call with the sub. And he's super happy because maybe typically the girl charges $200 for that, but he's just got it for 20. So it's just fun little things like this, just kind of thinking outside the box.
So two things that I want to sort of touch on quickly. Now, with regards to the messages, firstly, how fucked is that situation? Like, is it like bad in terms of like, are these guys like fully hooked and asking like for mad shit, or like what's going on there?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So you'll have everything from just typical conversations like, here's how my day's been. Yeah, I'm horny. I want this sort of content, blah, blah, blah. All the way to guys literally thinking like they're about to marry this girl, even though they've never met her. And talking about like the maddest stuff. So you'll get kind of, both spectrums, I guess. Typically, obviously, where you find the most amount of money is on that spectrum where it's like the maddest shit. And that's also why we say like the money is in the DMs, right? Because and this is also, I've done another podcast recently, and I think most people have this conception of like, well, why the fuck do guys go on OnlyFans and spend money? Don't they understand that most of the time, like, it's not even the girl that they're speaking to, or don't they understand like that there's a website called you might have to blur that one out. But right, so because it's free online, it's 2023. So a lot of people are like, why is OnlyFans even a thing? Like, why do guys spend money on it? The biggest thing is the fact that it's custom made just for them. So for example, some guys literally just want like a voice note from the girl, and they'll pay for it. Yeah. Sometimes they just want like a photo of the girl to write his name like on here on our ass, right?
Bro, I don't fucking get it. Like, I don't understand. Like, for me, like, I'd never ever do that, and I don't understand like why. What sort of demographic of people do you think are actually doing this? Is it the same or is it varied?
The majority is definitely like middle-aged / older white men.
So basically everyone who hates the missus.
Yeah, who's got nothing better to do, like, fuck it, let me just spend some money. But yeah, typically the average demographic is like middle-aged white old men. Yeah. So again, this is another conversation I recently had with a friend of mine who was like, literally said the same thing. Is like, but I still don't fucking get it. Like, why? Like, why would you spend money on that bullshit? And the best way to describe it is like, for example, me and you, we might, basically what it comes down to is what do you really value and what do you get out of when you spend money, right? So me and you might go on a night out and spend £2,000, £3,000 on a night out, or a nice dinner with like, you know, everybody. And we don't mind paying that because for us, like, we get the satisfaction of a great time, networking with people, speaking with people, whatever it might be, right? Or for example, like I remember you went to south of France, I think it was.
Yeah, Saint-Tropez.
And you rented a Lambo for fucking 2K a day, right? Yeah. £2,000 a day.
Yeah. That was like, as well, when I was in like my old 9 to 5, that was more than like my monthly wage. And that's like, now it's like something that's possible. So for anyone that is watching, start doing fucking something. If it's this, you're going to be able to do shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. So to me and you, maybe spending like £2,000 on something like that, and bear in mind that's just one day, right? To somebody else might think like, oh, you know, sure, they might want to do that, but they'll think, oh, that's silly, like that's a waste of money, right? But to me and you, we get the satisfaction, you know, it's a goal, maybe we achieve whatever, and it makes us feel good, right? And I think to a lot of guys that are OnlyFans and actually spending this money, at the end of the day, most of them are probably the introverts. Maybe they just physically can't go out and fucking speak to a girl, like they've never done it. They would much rather just sit at home. Maybe they're a computer scientist, right? Who works from home, who makes £5,000 a month. Yeah. And he's just very introverted. All he does is play video games. But to him, if he spends £100 and he can do a Skype call with like the hottest girl ever, to him, he's like, yeah, fuck it, it's £100, I'll do it. Yeah. And you got to think how many people like that there are out there in the world, literally millions, right? So that's where essentially it comes. Yeah. But then I think also, me and my business partner, we always kind of joke about this, because sometimes you get customs, right? So sometimes you'll get somebody that goes on OnlyFans and goes in the DMs to talk to the girl, and they will ask the most gross and fucking wildest shit that you can
remember when we were sat here the other week when we were having a few beers, and you like told me one of the requests, and it was so fucked. And when the guy like offering to pay like $2,000 for it or something like that, that is wild. Like, it's like, I don't understand how people get off on that. Like,
so this is what I was going to say. I honestly think for like a small proportion of everybody who spends money on OnlyFans, I feel like a small proportion might genuinely be like just really fucking wealthy guys who are just fucking bored. And they're like, I wonder what I can get away with.
Because for me, that, like, let's say a guy gets to a point where he's got all the money in the world for him, and he can have whatever he wants whenever he wants. What's the one thing that sort of he can't do? Mm-hmm. And that's like make a girl do something, or like do something that's wild and stuff like that. Yeah. This is his way of doing it, isn't it? And like pushing the boundaries and seeing what he can get. Yeah. And I think that's probably like, it sort of links to like the what was it called? The thing that, like, do you know, like the Dubai tag the sponsor? Anyone watching, go to tagthesponsor.com and you will read the wildest shit ever.
Don't do it. No, do it.
Yeah, basically, it's like, what it is people will, these rich guys will expose like Instagram girls and stuff, and what they get them, like when they'll pay, let's say they'll pay them 30,000 to come out to Dubai, they will basically show off what requests these girls have agreed to for money, and it is fucked. Yeah. The camels, hummus. There's not really much else you need to know.
Just put them two and two together, and just you can let your wildest imagination think, and you're probably right. But so it's all good and well, like us joking and laughing about it, because I was the same, bro. When we first started, I was like, this is fucking nuts. This is so weird, this and that. But the more longer I do this, and the more girls I actually talk to, right, the more I start to realize, fucking hell, this is like one of the most amazing things ever for the girl side of things, right? So from the girl's point of view, and I recently watched like a live conference with the CEO of OnlyFans, which is now a woman from America who owns it now. And she was essentially saying like OnlyFans is pretty much the only platform that allows this type of content in a safe way that keeps the girl like completely safe.
Because if a girl's flying out to Dubai to do this mad shit, like she's so vulnerable. Like these people might like they could take the passport, could not be able to leave the country. Like that's like this. But I agree, it's actually putting some sort of regulation around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. And a lot of the girls that are doing OnlyFans, like the average one, I'd say is probably like just a girl that goes to uni or a stay-at-home mum, or essentially what I'm trying to say is like these girls aren't looking to do some crazy shit like that, or they don't come from like an escorting background or nothing crazy like that. They're literally just girls that have a decent following, or they are happy to build a decent following online. And there's enough guys out there that will happily spend this money. So like, well, why not?
Going to play devil's advocate a little bit now. So you was talking about, let's say, like introverts and this being their only way and stuff like that. Do you think in any way you're facilitating that and keeping them that way?
Oh, interesting. That's a really good question. No one's asked me that. It's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. But it depends from person to person, I guess, right? Because I don't know what it would. I can't speak from that point of view, right? Because I've never been like that, and I don't actually know anybody like in person that's like that. But what I would probably say is it just depends from person to person on what would it take for that person to make that change, right? So, for example, maybe if you're listening to this, and maybe you are like, and we spoke about this on the first podcast. Funny enough, if you are the type of person who's really introverted, who's just really shy, doesn't not good with girls, and you maybe you're listening to this and be like, shit, I might low-key fall into that category. Maybe you haven't spent money on OnlyFans, right? But you kind of feel like that type of person. If you don't change anything, you just carry on being the same way you are, which most likely you'll probably work from home. You probably don't really talk to many people. If you do online, you don't go out. Well, you're probably going to stay that way, right? And OnlyFans is probably just another tool for you to use, essentially, right?
So it's sort of it's not something that's keeping them in exclusively. It's their whole lifestyle. In your opinion.
Makes sense. Correct. But that's a really interesting thought. I'd love to expand more on it.
Yeah, because for me, I just sort of think like it's probably something that like because that it literally came to me on the spot then when you were saying it, because people will, let's say these guys, like if they and I think this may be an interesting angle, like if a guy has access to the resource of a girl to do whatever they want online, are they ever going to venture out? And I get at some point they will, but how much of the time are they going to, like, I'm not going to say waste because that's what they want to do, but how much time are they going to spend actually just doing that? And like it's probably it's like interesting to think like what is that actually going to do to their social life? As in, will it take them till 40 to actually go and find a woman and marry him? They've got the access to it online. It's just something I've never really thought about, but I think it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting for sure. Maybe imagine like a guy spending so much money on a girl on OnlyFans, and then he looks at his bank statements and he's like, fuck, I've spent £2,000 on this bitch this month. Maybe I should go out and do something.
Literally, that should be the motivation.
Right? Maybe. That's a really interesting point. But I think there is just so many people out there, unfortunately, in this world that are just like that.
And but I guess a lot of it, like you said as well, though, it is just the people who a lot of people, I bet, like aren't even introverted. They're maybe just not happy at home and they want someone to talk to. Because you said there's that other side of it where it's people that just want a conversation. Yeah,
it's definitely that. But then there's also like a really, I guess, the dark side of it, which I've seen before, which is like, I know it might be not true, but I'm sure for most cases it probably is true. Where like guys are saying like, oh my God, my wife's asleep next to me. Like I need to be quiet, this and that. Like that's where I think is like, that's fucked.
That's wild, isn't it?
And they're spending money. And I remember Tate spoke about this on a podcast. And he was saying like that's what he believes is like cheating. That is so bad. You're telling me that your wife is right next to you, and not only are you like low-key talking to another like girl online, you're actively spending money and sending money to her.
It's like that's super disrespectful, isn't it?
Right, exactly. But don't get me wrong, like most of the time we don't kind of hear things like that, but Yeah.
It can happen.
It can definitely happen, yeah.
So in terms of, let's get into some of, not the numbers that your business is doing, but like some examples of what you've done with girls that you manage.
Yeah, sure. So for the girl in particular, her earnings on OnlyFans,
Yeah. So like take like an example client of what they can expect to go. Like, let's say they come to you at X point. What do you expect to scale them to, and sort of that journey to get there?
Sure. So typically, like on average, girls will come to us. They're doing about 2,000 to 5,000 a month.
And what does that require? Because 2,000 to 5,000 a month is like, that's like a very good wage for the majority of the UK.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I've said this is going to sound.
Are you going to like, if you lost that connection?
Literally about to say that. I was literally about to say that. Like me and my business partner, we spoke about it. Like I'm going to sound like such a dickhead, but like I've lost perception of money like massively. Because to me, it's like £5,000 is like, I don't know, I just wouldn't get out of bed for it.
Yeah.
But it sounds horrible, like even me saying it. Just because like if you're always around these big numbers, you just get used to it. Like when me and you just go for a beer, like we just talk about it like it's nothing, right? And you kind of get used to these things.
Got something to show you.
Yeah.
Nice little update. Hasn't been announced. No one knows about this except my missus and my brother.
Let's see.
On internet.
What we got going? A little exclusive.
Technical problems. Yes, exclusive. We hit, so for everyone watching, I hit a massive personal goal yesterday.
Yeah. Let's see. This is a live reaction. Oh my fucking God. Yes, boy. Congratulations, man. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, are you going to pop up on the screen so they know what we're talking about? Or
Maybe.
Not?
Okay, keep it now. Yeah.
So it may or may not have been a financial goal. And it's a pretty fucking big one, right? So this is what I mean. So when me and you like talk about and see these numbers on a day-to-day basis, like on average, I'm making about £3,000 a day at the moment. Like, so to me, like when we talk about 5K in a month, that's like, what the fuck? But anyway, to go back to your question, which was
Scaling girls. So 2 to 5K when they start.
Yeah. So on average, the girls that come to us like inbound, oh, hey Markuss, I watched your video on YouTube and I'd love to work with your agency. On average, those girls are typically making about 2,000 to 5,000. Yeah, so that's where they're at, and that typically is about anywhere from like £100 to like £300 a day, dollars. Actually, let's just talk in dollars because OnlyFans is all in dollars, by the way. Yep. So cool. If you are going to take somebody like that on, which we don't, by the way, now, for everybody watching this, we have a really strict criteria now. We don't take on many girls just in general. Like we tend to keep things really streamlined now. So for now, if you do want to come on board our agency, you need to be doing at least 10,000 a month, like bare minimum. Yeah. And I was actually making a video about it literally yesterday. There's two reasons for that. It's honestly not about the money because 10,000 again, like I said, and we take 50%. So to us, that's only 5,000. Like I said, it's not a lot. It's not about the money. It's two things. One, if the girl's already doing 10,000 a month without us, that means it's already showing us proof of concept.
Yep.
AKA like the girl understands at least above the average basis of marketing, content. Yep. She's doing something there, right?
She's not an airhead.
Right, exactly, right? So one, it shows the proof of concept. And the second one, which is the main one, is if a girl's already making 10,000 a month, even if it's her first month, it's going to be a lot less likely for her to quit or doing OnlyFans or change course of her business in general if she's already making 10K a month. Because when we first started, we would take on girls, like I said, like who were doing like 2,000, 3,000 a month. And then we would essentially scale them and they'd have a change of plan. I don't want to do OnlyFans ever again. I want to leave guys to do it. And we're like, all right, cool, no worries. And behold, next month, they're still doing OnlyFans. They just wanted to leave our agency, right? Or in general, actually stop doing OnlyFans. So anyway, so that's our criteria now. But to go back to essentially like, what does it kind of look like? So if a girl's doing like 2,000 to 5,000 a month for us, so first of all, we wouldn't take them on at the moment, but when we did, you would want to essentially scale them organically, right? So you're essentially talking about Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, maybe even a little bit of YouTube. So the YouTube shorts, because they go viral, and obviously Instagram. So yeah, you'd essentially scale them manually by essentially doing multiple accounts. So kind of like the Andrew Tate method of like repurposing the same content. So for anybody watching this who's running an OFM, like the simplest tip that I can give you guys, like get your girl, if she's going to be creating a TikTok like there and then, get her to essentially put on like a different top
Yep.
and just redo the same TikTok on another phone. Get her to put on another top and redo it on another account. And all of a sudden, instead of in like 10 minutes just creating one piece of content, she's created 3. And you're literally tripling your chance of going viral.
Yep.
Simple as that. Until she's really doing about 15,000 a month in net, then you can start playing around with like paid forms of marketing. So paid forms of marketing are such as like GGs. So essentially it stands for guaranteed gains, which is really interesting, by the way. This is a new term that we never used in SMMA.
I say I've never heard of this.
Yeah. So essentially guaranteed gains is, let's just say I have a model right now. I will go to a different model who I'm not managing, right? But she's on OnlyFans as well. And she has the same statistics as mine in terms of earnings and etc. And I will ask her how much, and every girl in the industry knows what GG means, like guaranteed gains. So I'll ask her how much for 500 GG, which means I'm basically asking her, how much do you charge to guarantee 500 of your subs to subscribe to my model, right? So
why, just on that, why would, because you talked about the competition earlier.
Yeah.
Why would a girl want to do that? Like, is that like short-term mindset instead of like, I'm going to make a quick buck here?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely instant cash.
Yeah.
Because something like that would be about about £600, like 500 guaranteed gains. Also how it works is whenever somebody subscribes to OnlyFans, like to a model, if they unsubscribe, their account is still in the database of that girl's profile, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when you go into all of her statistics of her subs, you can see who's active, who's inactive. So for example, one of our models, she's got inactive 20,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So that's the equivalent of a 20,000 email list.
Yeah.
Right? And it's valuable. You don't just want to leave it there.
Data, yeah.
Right? Because, and to the girl, it's like, well, all she has to do is send an automated mass message to the 20,000 people who aren't paying her anyway. So she's not losing anything.
Okay.
So might as well just fucking do it, right?
Got it, makes sense.
And she gets paid for it instantly. But yeah, essentially, so that's like one form of marketing. So GGs, like guaranteed gains. And essentially the girl will keep advertising my model until my model hits the 500 extra subs. So if she goes from like 1,000 to 1.5K, that means she's done her service and she can essentially end it.
This, just on that, like this is mind blowing, as in how complex and sort of like how it's actually, the whole thing has become a business.
Yeah.
Because like, I think when OnlyFans first came around, everyone just thought it was just girls just posting.
Yeah.
But the whole, like, you're now essentially, because even with that GG, you're basically having another girl work for you, like on a short-term contracted basis, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is, the ability to monetize OnlyFans now is fucked.
Yeah. It's a full business. It's a full system. This is also, and obviously, like I said, I've spoken to more and more girls in the industry now who are like the top 1%, and so on and so on. Also, just for you and anybody watching this, what do I mean when I talk about 0.01%? The easiest way to think about it is, you know, that when that term of like, you're the top 1% man, or I'm the top 1% man, it's the same thing in OnlyFans. So if you're in the top 1%, that means you're earning like the top 1% out of everybody, right? That means you're making a certain amount. And obviously the smaller the percentage, the more you're making. Yeah. So yeah, and I've spoken to more and more of girls who are in the 0.01% or 0. And below, or 1% and below. And a lot of them have like this like bad sour taste about agencies, and I completely fucking understand why. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, unfortunately, I am the guy who started this fucking epidemic.
And this is like, I can't go on TikTok now and go, I bet you like maybe at least one every, I don't know, 10 to 15 videos is another guy saying, oh, do this.
Yeah.
But like I said, when with you and your business partner, I remember like when you guys sort of were having early conversations about it, and I'd never even heard of it, didn't have a clue what it was, and now it seems to be plastered everywhere.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
And I've always said this, like, and this is why I'll never like private edit my videos.
Yeah.
You can clearly go back to like on my YouTube channel at Markuss Hustle. You can literally go back and date back all the old videos, even the SMMA ones. I'm not deleting them because it's just what I used to do. Yeah. And then watch when I started doing the OFM videos. All of a sudden, that's when everybody else started doing it, right? So Yeah, and to go back to the conversation about like, unfortunately, there's a sour taste in these girls, mouths essentially, as I'm saying, is because most of these agencies who are starting out, who maybe don't go through our coaching, who are just trying to wing it and trying to figure it all out themselves, they just do a shit job. And that goes for everything. I remember in SMMA when I was running a marketing agency and I would be reaching out to car dealerships or law firms, right? When I used to do those industries. It's the same thing. Like as soon as I speak to a business owner, they're like, oh, here we go, another marketing agency. And then you have to go out of your way to prove like, no, I actually know what the fuck I'm doing. This is what I provide. Here's da-da-da. And the reason why I got onto this conversation is because most of these girls, right, unfortunately have had a bad experience with an agency who doesn't do anything what I just said. Like they don't do any paid forms of advertising. They don't do any organic form. They don't give them any content ideas. They barely fucking even manage them. All they do is that they essentially like hire a chatter to do the messages. And even then that's probably shit. And it just doesn't work. The girl probably makes less money with the agency than she would have by herself. And then obviously it creates that bad stigma around, OFM, like I'm at.
And that's it. Like, I think it's like a big fuck you to anyone that enters with that mindset, because like it happens with every industry, like even with us, the people that are in that for a quick buck, you're not even planning to build a business, but you're damaging the actual businesses with a credible reputation, like indirectly.
Yeah.
And it fucks it up for everyone. Yeah. Like it's just people that do that are like fucking shitty people.
That's why I give so much free advice. Yeah. Like, I teach people for free. It's kind of like the whole Hormozy idea of you just give value for free and eventually somebody will be like, oh, do you know what, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. I'll buy whatever he's selling, right? Because if his free stuff is this good, his paid stuff must be unreal. Which is essentially the philosophy and the concept that we're doing. So like we have like a free webinar for literally a whole hour. We exactly teach them what you need to start with. We literally tell you the softwares that you need to do. We tell you where do you find your first models? What do you say to them? How do you get them on a call? Yeah, and that's like pretty much the webinar. So we'll teach you all of that. And then on my YouTube, we also start talking about service delivery, like what do you actually need to do? And also on these podcasts, like I'm not shy to talk about once you get a model, what do you actually do for them? So because if people don't, then you'll get loads of guys like we just spoke about who just think it's a great idea for business, cash grab, fuck the models over, and then it just ruins it for everyone.
And you've got a clear lack of integrity if you're willing to take money out of a girl's pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
But without trying to fucking benefit them positively.
Yeah. So I was just going to say as well, this is also why I love this industry in comparison to SMMA, because in this industry, your business only works and it only thrives if you actually deliver a good service. So what do I mean by that? Because it's not even a thing in this industry where the girl has to just pay you out of her pocket. That's not a thing. The only way it works is like a commission deal, right? So let's just say a girl is doing, like for example, in our case, is $10,000 a month already, and she comes onto our agency and we take 50%, right? So that means the girl instantly goes to 5,000. It's in everyone's best interest, especially ours, to help her obviously scale to at least a minimum, 15, 20,000 a month, obviously 20,000 a month, for her to just even break even. And from there on, start making more. If we don't do that, then, she's more than happy to obviously, leave, et cetera, et cetera. So that's also why I really enjoy this, because in order to get clients, it's super easy. There's no...
On that, I was just going to say, I obviously don't want you to share your secrets and stuff like that, but what does client acquisition, is it a lot of the time organic, like them coming to you, or are you having to use several methods of outreach?
Sure. So at the moment, I can talk about like right now, it's like we basically don't do any outreach. There is a small department of our coaching business that does outreach, but that is essentially to partner models with our students. That's another thing that we offer, right? So not only do you get coached by us on how to do everything, we will also help you find a model as well.
So you're giving them the income.
Yeah, literally. Like all you have to do is just fucking listen to what I'm telling you, just do it. That's literally as simple as that. But yeah, in terms of getting clients and stuff, it's all word of mouth. Because that's the best fucking way to...
I was just going to say, and this is where it comes down to you running a credible business, because the only, like, it's not going to be any good having shit word of mouth spread about you, is it? And so it's going to you shooting yourself in the foot. So if you're able to do that, and that's the thing, girls chat, and I imagine that girls that are all doing OFM, that are all friends of each other, if one of them sees that they've gone with you and they're absolutely smacking it and the revenue's gone through the roof, the others are going to jump on just as quick.
Simple as that. I remember when we first were starting out, because when we first started out, we wouldn't work with like existing OnlyFans models. So we would work with just normal girls who are either working at the bar or maybe they're going to uni, just your average kind of girl, I guess, right? We would help them make like an extra 5,000-10,000 in 1 month, like in their first month. And obviously to a girl who's making, maybe 1.5K a month from like, their 9 to 5.
Bar staff or something like that.
Yeah, right. Just your average typical girl to now making 10,000 in their first month. They're obviously going to go out of their way and tell their girlfriends. All of their girlfriends then are like, oh my God, how did you do that? Who helped you? Oh, there's this guy called Markuss. He reached out. He had this cool idea. I thought, fuck it, I'll try it. And oh my God, it's worked. Look how much money I made. All of their girlfriends are now messaging me. So that's when we first started out. That's essentially how it worked, right?
Sick.
And then over time, you start to realize like, okay, there's only so many people I can work with at a time. And you can start to be a bit more pickier. And that's why now, like we are constantly raising the bar. Like even if you're listening and you're a girl or a guy, like we've worked with a guy before. It didn't really work out, but whatever. Even if you're making 10,000 a month on OnlyFans, doesn't mean I'm going to work with you. Like there's loads of other different things that we have to tick. Like for example, if maybe somebody's wondering, like you have to be doing this full time if you want to work with us. You don't have to, if you don't want to work with us, that's fine. But if you want to work with us, like you have to be all in. You have to do this full time. At least be doing 10K a month. Obviously, if you're doing it full time, you can create content throughout the entire day. The phone, we'd look at that as well, just because of the quality of content. It's not a deal breaker because we can buy them a new phone. Also, like what country are you from? How's your English? All these, and also like the biggest one is what kind of content are you happy to create? Because a lot of OnlyFans creators, when they're starting out, they want to like hide their face, wear a mask, or like
it might look like just like an Instagram in terms of maybe just being in underwear, which is similar to a bikini.
Correct. Which you know what's crazy? You can still make tens of thousands with that.
Really?
But it's just such a ball. Like, I mean, it's just building.
Does it have to be a girl that's like extremely good looking? Like
that helps. That definitely helps. But the biggest one is just building anticipation. That's all it actually is. So building essentially like the climax, right? Like, so that's all it comes down to. The reason why it's like jarring is because and we have worked with models when we first started out who are just like doing bikini only essentially, right? Who weren't doing like full nude. The subs will just always keep fucking asking, and there's only so long until they just unsubscribe. Which means you have a really high churn rate, which means you really have to go good on marketing.
And so it's just because it's so much harder to acquire a customer than to keep one.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why now we have like a really, really strict criteria on kind of who we take on. And this is another really, really, really big point I wanted to make. And I spoke to this on a different poddy. Essentially, like a lot of people have this misconception as well, or like this negative outlook on my industry, which is like, oh, you're like not diluting, but like you're basically bringing on girls onto OnlyFans who never wanted to do it, and you're this bad person who's making girls dirty-minded, doing all these things that they don't want to do, etc., etc. Like I will say it now, and I've said it so many times. I literally say it in my online program as well. Like, do not reach out to somebody who isn't already on OnlyFans. It's just there is no point in it. Like the easiest analogy that I always give is like it's the equivalent of like me running a marketing agency and going to, and there's two potential clients, and the car dealerships, for example, right? One of them is just a guy in his backyard selling like cars, right? Another one is an established dealership who's franchised all around the country. This is the equivalent of me going to the guy who's just selling cars in his backyard and be like, right, so I'm going to help you build your entire car dealership. I'm going to help you find a lot. I'm going to help you move the cars, build this all up, and then I'm going to help you market. In comparison, why don't I just go to the guy who's already well established and I know he's got the money and just work with him? So like we don't encourage girls to start OnlyFans. Like if you're not already doing it, and you come to me like, please don't message me. It's not
so it's basically just the people that have already made the decision to jump onto the platform. Correct. You're just accelerating the growth.
Simple as that, yeah.
And then in a way, you're doing them a favor.
Yeah. Well, this is the biggest thing that people also kind of think about is like, so why would a girl like start working with you if she's already doing it by herself? Like, what is the point? Especially if an agency like us, we're taking 50%. And I mean, there's two main things. Like one is saving time, and two, increasing that income, right? So those are like the pillars, but then there's loads of different shit in between that, essentially, right? So how do we save them time? So again, at the higher upper scale, we can actually hire people to manage their social media. So all they have to do is create the content, right? We not only distribute it on social media and obviously on OF as well. And if we're talking about content as well, the second thing, how we save them time, you don't even have to think about what to create the content. We will literally tell you what content to create, when to create it. And we'll literally have a 365-day content calendar every single day. I think, like, for example, like obviously we've got Valentine's Day coming up here. Pancake Day is on the 22nd, 23rd, I think this month. So on that content calendar, like every day there is a day for something, like just thinking outside the box. So little things like that, as well, saving time in terms of chatting. That is so fucking time consuming. The peak time of when you're making money and when you're doing a chatting is like late at night, like 9 p.m. to like 3 in the morning.
When someone's sat in bed or on couch.
Right.
So with it, just on the chatting note, what does that look like? Are you hiring like a VA in like a random country, or is it you guys actually doing it yourselves?
Sure. So we tried a bit of everything. So we tried here in the UK, we tried overseas, etc. And we've had hits and misses and wins on both. Like we currently do have somebody in the Philippines who's just incredible. Not just one person, but a couple. But we also have most of our people are here in the UK. Main reason is, so in the UK, obviously, both have pros and cons, right? So in the UK, the pro is the English is perfect. I mean, they speak English every day. So that's perfect. The con is obviously they want a better salary, right? Somebody in the UK, you're looking to pay, it depends again, if you're doing a commission or a salary, anywhere from, 2,000 to if they're doing a percentage, like a commission, fucking, it all up to like 11,000, which is the biggest one, right? That we paid. Vice versa in Philippines, for example, their pros and cons is the pro is you're saving like 11,000, for example, per creator per month. But then sometimes they might have grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, and so on.
And I imagine once they make that mistake, and the guy who's like knows, as soon as they know that they're chatting to someone that's not from this isn't who they're supposed to be chatting to, they're gone.
Correct. But sometimes like we saw this literally like the other day. Because we basically obviously have group chats for all of our models and all of our chatters, right? And we hired somebody to overlook all of it. So me and my business partner Harry, we don't obviously go into the accounts, we don't do chatting anymore, none of that stuff. But sometimes on a team meeting, somebody will obviously bring it up, and it was just very fucking weird. This particular, because it stands out in my brain because it's about this conversation. Essentially, the VA like started calling the subscriber like baby, and the guy was like it's so funny. The guy literally went like, "Please don't call me baby. Like this is so weird." The next message, she went, "Okay, sorry, baby." No idea. It gets funnier, right? And then he was like, "All right, whatever." And then carried on chatting, and then literally like a minute later, he just started tipping again, like started paying, and like he just carries on and then he literally said, "I know this isn't you, but I'll still tip you." Things like that. So yeah, like, but for the most part, you are right. Like if they realize like, oh, this is not even the girl that I'm talking to anymore, like, I'll go elsewhere. Also in terms of chatting as well, something that is, it's like, it's a conversation that isn't really spoken about too much in the industry. I know we're obviously openly talking about it now in the poddy, but, it's something that essentially, so put it this way, all I'm going to say is like, most of the models, they are still there talking to the subscribers, right? What do I mean by that? Like, so at the end of the day, like if you openly start, like if the girl herself, right, is obviously openly talking about, oh, we have this management agency and they do all the messages on my OnlyFans, she's going to have 0 subscribers that want to talk to her, right? Because they're like, well, obviously I'm not talking to her, right? So for us, like the way, essentially our job is to filter out the time wasters, and the people that actually do want to talk to the model and actually are willing to spend money on her, she will still talk to them. Put it that way, right? Yeah. And there's proof. Like if they can ask for a voice note, she can create the voice note there and then send it to her. So things like that. So that's the only part about this industry which is like not taboo, but essentially it's kind of like behind closed curtains, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So like, obviously we covered all of that, but what, in terms of case studies, what have you actually seen girls do from working alongside you guys?
Yeah. So for us, like the typical, like I said, is roughly joining us at about 10,000 on average earning per month, and we'll also scale them to about 30,000, 40,000.
Fuck.
If we've really just started pumping more and more money into it, like we can help them scale to like 50, 60,000, but then your cost just goes up, and then obviously your profit margins go down a little bit. But you know, that's possible. I think the coolest thing, sure, money obviously is just life-changing to a lot of these girls, but actually hearing them say like, oh, I've been able to quit my 9 to 5 and do this full time. I've been able, like, for example, we've worked with mums before.
Mad.
They've been able to look after their kids and their family.
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest thing.
Yep.
And I was watching a podcast yesterday of my good friend Serge Guattari and Joel Kaplan. And I think it was Serge that said, it was like the greatest thing about money isn't actually like the money itself. It's just the idea of not having to worry about it. That's the best part about it.
Yeah.
Because like when you have something happen, like a tragedy or something breaks, or you have to go somewhere, an emergency, when you're broke, the first thing you're thinking about is, oh, money, it's going to cost me this much. Like, for example, somebody tried to break into my business partner's car like a week or two ago, and smashed, didn't break his window, but like chipped his, like somebody literally got a rock and just started smashing. What was it for? For headphones or something? Was a fucking idiot. He just left his AirPod. Like, yeah, Manchester's so mad, or not even Manchester, just UK as a whole is so fucked. Like, somebody will literally take a stone, try and break a car's window for a pair of headphones. But
do you know what? With that though, it's weird because I came down to reception and seen Harry, and we went. He showed me it, but it's in the car park as well, and it's like, is it someone that fucking lives here? Oh, what? So was it? Oh, so did it not happen in here?
Before
shit!
he
I thought
came
it happened in here.
But he only realised it when he parked here and walked past it. He was like, "The fuck is that?"
Fuck.
Yeah. But like that, for example, right? Like he literally just said, "Is what it is." Like when if we were broke, that would have been like, oh, I don't even know how much a window costs. Like,
I've got the perfect example of this. So when I had I had my McLaren, like I was pulling out of my drive, changing like the radio, wasn't like looking what I was doing, went bang straight into the curb, like curbed all the wheels, and then I was like, it's not that deep, is it? Like I'll get it fixed.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, but then that's when I thought, like, I remember I'd done that on my cars when I was younger, and I was like, fuck, like so frustrated. I was like, how am I going to do this now? But then it's like any pain point in your life is made easier by money. And that's what's good about it.
Best part, bro. You don't have to worry about it. Talking about that, by the way, I always think about this. Driving like dingers and like shit cars is so much like less stressful.
Yeah, literally, bro.
Especially overseas, because when you're driving a supercar, you are worried about every pothole, just for the sake of like dinging it, because you're, oh, for fuck's sake.
Literally, and the things as well, when you're doing it in foreign countries, well, like it's fucked driving. Like the UK, like everyone seems to drive relatively okay.
Yeah.
As soon as you step into Europe, you realize like this is like how dangerous the roads can be.
Unless BMW drivers, all of a sudden you just pull out and you got a BMW driver right next to you, like flashing. Nah, I'm joking. But so the best thing about money, and especially with these girls as well, is like them not having to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think and then another thing is like, because at the end of the day, a lot of girls obviously get a lot of shit for doing OnlyFans, whether it's from friends, family, or just random fuckers online. But mainly the ones that actually matter and they care about is their friends and family, right? What do they think? And, obviously most of the time it's not the most positive thing. Every now and then you obviously get very supportive family members of these girls, but most of the time it is genuinely pretty bad. This is also why we don't encourage girls to start. We don't ask them to start. We don't reach out to girls to start, because I don't want to be the one liable, or, the one me being the reason for a girl being disowned by a family member or something, right? Like, bro, that's why we don't even entertain that. But, for a lot of these girls that we're working with, once they start making 30, 40, 50,000 a month, then all of a sudden, like, family members start to look at things differently, right? What if the girl is now being able to look after her mum, after her dad, maybe, buy like a present for her little brother or something, right? Which like we see all the time. So I think those are like my best case studies. For the coaching, but then also from the coaching side of it as well, we coach guys on how to do this. I've I'm pretty numb to it now because I've been in coaching space for like about 4 years. So I'm used to seeing like younger guys like 18 to 20 something message me saying like, bro, like what the fuck? Thank you so much. Like you've actually helped me do this. So like I'm a little bit numb to that now, but still it's like, it's just one of the best feelings ever. Like that's what makes me want to do this shit forever.
Yeah. So what on the coaching side, what's some of the best case studies you've had?
Sure. And instantly when you said that, I was thinking about the girls' case studies, right? Because when I say girls, like their models case studies, right? Because they're both hand in hand. If their model does a great month, that means his agency will as well. One of the top ones, like for example, we call him H, but essentially it's abbreviation for his full name. He also, if you remind me, I'll pop up. I'll send you the screenshot. You guys can pop it up. I forgot the exact number, but I think it was something like she was doing like 1,000 or 2,000 a month, and in their first like 2 weeks, they made 14,000 in 2 weeks. So that's been a pretty great one. We've had a couple of students who have been doing kind of 30, 40,000 a month with their agency. That means a combination of all of their models combined, they're making that much.
The thing is as well, like. I bet like the margins are absolutely fucking ridiculous, aren't they? Like, because it's not going to cost a lot to do this, is it?
It doesn't. The only thing that really starts to cost a lot is the paid forms of advertisement when you're really trying to scale. Because the chatters, again, if you really figure it out overseas, you can cut down your costs massively. There's loads of services out there that provide essentially chatters, but they'll take like a fat percentage. Which again just cuts into your, because let's just say you're working with a model at 50% and the chatting agency takes 20%, well, you're only left with 30. And it might not sound like a lot, but if you go from making 50% of 100,000 to 30,000, all of a sudden you're losing a lot of money. But yeah, the only really big cost is essentially is the paid form advertisement. But then also OnlyFans takes 20% itself. So if a guy tips $100, you've actually only made 80. So that's also, by the way, another thing that a lot of people don't understand. And I think the young guys in this industry, they think like, oh, I'll just run an OnlyFans management agency. You can, but the big dogs, they don't, like it's not just an OnlyFans agency. We like 70% of our income is from OnlyFans, 30% of it is outside, such as like Cash Up. Websites where you can sell, I don't know, it's going to sound mad, but girls will sell their used underwear and shit like that, and guys will pay crazy amounts for it.
And does all that traffic to get that come through OnlyFans originally?
Say again.
So let's say to sell that underwear, does all the traffic to bring that business and that custom come through OnlyFans? So
no, that would be from like social media.
Got it.
Yeah. So for example, the model will have like an all my links or link tree. We don't use those, but essentially, if you guys want to think of it that way, they'll click on that link, and then all of her links will be popped up on there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And there's loads of other websites where it's like OnlyFans, but just where they just buy the videos and photos there and then. And there's also a lot of OnlyFans competitors, like FanView, for example. That's another one where you can, go on to in comparison to fucking OnlyFans taking the 20%. Another one, for example, if the girl is offering Skype calls for like 5-10 minutes, they will just cash up the girl. That won't go through. You can do it through OnlyFans, but why would you when you lose 20%?
Got it.
So again, there's so many different things that you got to look at where you can just cut out and save money. Which again, to a girl who's trying to do it all by herself, sure, she can figure out over time. But if she joins an agency like us who's been doing it for fucking time and we've tried a bit of everything and we've figured out what works and what doesn't, and we just bring that knowledge, like wealth of knowledge to them straight away, that's why all of a sudden it's worth them essentially giving up 50% of what they're making.
Weird one came to my head. But can like guys request refunds on this stuff?
Yes.
How does that work? How do they prove that what does that look like?
So, I mean, OnlyFans will favor the sub for the most part. The same as everything, like same as Stripe will pretty much always favor the customer if there's a dispute. But the reason why that is a thing, and I'm glad it is, because again, unfortunately, this is another small proportion of dickheads in this industry, where essentially they literally scam guys on OnlyFans. Essentially what they do is they'll find a girl. Now it's getting more and more difficult to create an OnlyFans account of a model. But back then it used to be pretty fucking easy. As long as you just had a picture of the girl holding up her ID, like a selfie like this, you could pretty much just create an account of the girl on OnlyFans and just you're good to go. Now, obviously, you got face recognition. You got to prove a lot of where do you live, all this stuff, right? But back then, what these guys used to do is they would just, and there's like archives that you can probably find online. Or I don't know, maybe it was like a model that they used to work with previously, so they still had the photo of her ID, right? And her. But essentially, they would create a fake OnlyFans account of the girl, and they would essentially do the marketing, everything like they would normally. But then on OnlyFans, they would essentially like scam them by organizing meetups and shit like that, which is like forbidden. Obviously, that's literally fucking escorting. You can't. It's literally illegal. And obviously, what they would do is they would say like, oh, if you tip me 1,000 right now, I'll send you my phone number, and then we can meet up, this and that. And obviously, that's where, because obviously that would never happen. That's a scam. That's where the subscriber that's paid that 1,000 could obviously literally open a dispute, essentially get a refund, and obviously the account will get taken down. That's fine.
So we've covered a lot of the side in terms of you managing girls, but I know you've got the other side of your business as well, which is the coaching side of it. So let's hear more about that. So how does that work? What does it look like? Yeah.
Sure. So if you're just starting out, so first of all, it's 18 and over only.
Yep.
Just a fact, we don't teach anybody who's under the age of 18. Just simple fact. Obviously, I'm sure it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure out like why, but if you're wondering, because I get so many DMs on Instagram like, hey bro, I'm 16. Can I start? I'm like, bless you, bro. Like I like the enthusiasm, but like, do learn about sales, learn about marketing, learn about those two skills are
learn some core competent skills that if you actually get to 18, that when you get into that, you'll know it like the back of your hand, because like you said earlier, it's still the same game. It's still marketing.
This is also why I've been so fucking successful in this, because I didn't just randomly go from a 9 to 5 to all of a sudden starting an agency like OFM. I had already had like about 5 years of marketing experience. Little fucking nerd of me sitting at home like learning about marketing, right? So yeah, in terms of coaching, it's 18 and over. If you are just starting out and you don't have a budget, just like watch my YouTube videos, check out the webinar. So it's like an hour-long webinar where, like I mentioned earlier, we just go through everything that you need to just get started, just start. We also have like a little mini course of £37, which we don't really advertise, so you probably won't find a link for it. It's basically just a overview of what is this industry and how it works. But we post YouTube videos like all the time. Like we do like 2 a week where we actually give like real solid advice. And we also have a Discord community, which is completely free of charge. There's we just hit over 15,000 members, which is like the biggest one in the industry, which is nuts. In like 7 months, I think we started.
15,000, that's mad. That's
right. Crazy. So it's grown pretty nicely. So in terms of free stuff, check out all of those. If you do have, a budget behind you, we do sell an online program, which is everything from A to Z that will explain not only how to get started and how to get your models, but then also what do you actually do once you get a model? How do you onboard them? How do you manage the communication? How do you actually do the marketing and the sexting and everything in between? And then also as a little bonus, we also teach about how do you scale it? How do you hire people? Where do you hire them from? How much do you pay them? That course is $499, so you can find that as well. And something that we are looking to release very soon. We haven't yet at the time of this recording. I think today is like the 10th of February, something like that. Or like 7th, 8th February. So
it's a blur in it.
Yeah, literally, bro, I don't even know. But at the time of this recording, we haven't quite yet opened it, but we will be opening essentially an offer where both me and my business partner, for a set fee, we will come onto your agency. Obviously, you should be an existing agency at this point, because if you're just starting out, it'd be a waste of your money. But if you are an existing agency and you are already doing, probably like 10,000 a month, and you just can't figure out how to scale it to like the 50, 60K a month mark, for a month, for 30 days, you can get me and Harry to come on board your agency. And you'd have me and Harry essentially like a part of your business. We'd talk to all of your staff. Would essentially put systems in place, would probably bring models on board, would maybe even connect you with our chatters, that we've trained in the past. And essentially like a plug and play, we would come on board and just scale you up in 30 days. We haven't got a price tag on that yet. As you can imagine, it'll be fucking expensive. It won't be, 1,000, 2,000. It'll be way more than that. But that's something that we're looking to release pretty soon. And it will literally be like, I don't know, maybe we might do like 2 agencies a month. That's something that we're looking
super exclusive, just so you can absolutely nail it.
Yeah, because if we just have it where like we can have like 50 people at a time per month, it will just get too messy and the 50 people won't actually get the service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if we just keep it exclusive to only a couple of people per month, then they can actually get responses from both me and her, because we are so fucking busy. Like you should see my DMs. I'm sure you're probably the same. Like you just refresh it, another 2 messages pop up.
You don't have to go into detail on this, but I'm just interested. So let's say in your course, what's the, let's say, the topic titles? Like what can someone expect to learn and get out of this, and what's covered without actually expanding on each one?
Yeah, sure, man. So I haven't looked at this in such a while, to be honest. And but basically there's like 4 or 5 different essential modules.
Yep.
And within each module, there's different lessons, right?
Got it.
So the first one is essentially setup,
Yep.
If I remember correctly, there's only one lesson in there, which is just because it's simple. We cut out all the bullshit. We're not going to talk to you about like in detail about like you should have a nice desk, you should have a nice laptop. We just literally talk about how to get started, what do you need to have set up. That's the first one done out of the way. If I remember correctly, the second one is model outreach, if I remember correctly. There we talk about, first of all, like how to qualify the right client, right? Because you don't want to work with everybody. Like for example, what I mentioned earlier, we have a criteria list. They need to hit all the boxes in order for us to work with them. So we teach you about that. We teach you where do you find them? What do you actually say? How do you reach out to them? The do's and the don'ts. And then what do you say once you're on a Zoom call? We also give you a legal contract. And we essentially teach you exactly how to get your first models on board. The next one is the marketing. So this one is like there's like 10, if not more lessons in there. It's everything from Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, obviously Instagram, Reddit, Tinder, all the different marketing methods are on there, and you just don't even need to look anywhere else. Right? It's just all there for you. And those are all up to date as well. It's not like this has been created like 4 years ago and all of a sudden it's all changed and it's different. Like we've literally created this only a couple months ago. Then once you've done that, I believe, if I remember correctly, the next one is scaling. So the next one is essentially scaling and just business operations as a whole. So how does payments work? At the end of the month, do you invoice the girl or do you send the girl the money? Like how does that work? Obviously the legal side of the business, scaling. So in terms of where do you hire people from? When do you hire them? How much do you pay them? Pretty much, bro. Like about as inclusive as it can get. Yeah. The way we built it is like, if me and Harry had to restart today, what would we need to know in the right order? So that's the way we built it. And then on top of that, if for whatever reason you have any questions, you can always ask us in the Discord as well. 24/7 support.
So it's basically just the blueprint to get, it's like the golden ticket really.
Yeah.
And fast track.
If you just follow that, you know.
Yeah, you can't, you're gonna, and that's the thing, like we experience that a lot. Like these business models, like with yours and like with ours, like they're pretty unbreakable if you just do the basics. But do you find like you get a lot of people that, let's say, maybe complain, but it comes down to laziness and stuff like that, they're just not fully committing to it? And if you do, because your course is quite higher price, do you get a lot of people try and do chargebacks, refunds, stuff like that?
Interesting enough, like genuinely, and a hand on heart, I'm not saying it's just to like advertise or market my shit, like genuinely no. The only time that we do have some issues is one little bonus that I haven't even mentioned is if you join our Discord, you notice how earlier in the podcast I mentioned that we get a lot of girls that reach out to us that are doing about 2,000 to 5,000 a month, and we don't want to work with them just because they don't hit that criteria. Well, those girls, we don't just tell them to fuck off. Like we will say, cool, unfortunately don't hit quite criteria. However, let me find out who I can partner you with that will definitely be happy to take you on and essentially manage you, right? AKA our students. So, and depending on the model, we'll sometimes take essentially like a referral fee. And essentially sometimes, you know, we've had issues where the model partners with our student and the student just, you know, the model just ghosts them for whatever reason. Or again, like for example, she just has a change of heart after a month and just doesn't want to do OnlyFans as a whole. Obviously that's out of our control. You know, that's when we do issue refunds essentially. That's the only time really, bro. Here's another really, really interesting thing that I listened to literally last night from the podcast with Serge and Joel. Really interesting point that, because they're both essentially into consulting as well and coaching. Joel said it, I'm probably going to butcher it, but essentially the way he said it is like our job as coaches and providing like coaching to somebody in business terms, there'll always be like two brackets, right? There'll be people at the bottom who will take it's the same advice, right?
Yeah.
People at the bottom are the ones that will take the advice. They might try it, or no, they will try it, but they'll find every excuse to like not actually succeed with it, right? Our job as a coach is for those people to just make it as clear as possible and just to make sure they at least try and do everything that we tell them to do, and they'll give them the highest chance of success. But then there's also the people at the top, right? And this is what Joel said, and it just stuck with me so well. At the top, you have the type of people, which is, I'm sure it's probably like me and you, where if somebody just told you the only way how you can start a business is by writing letters and mailing them or doing cold calls, and that's the only way, me and you would use that and think that's true and would figure out a way to actually do it in those ways, right? Sure. And those ones, your job is just to make sure that because they were going to do it without you regardless. Your job then is just to help them just scale beyond their limiting beliefs. That's just kind of how I look at it. And again, this is just not even just with this of OnlyFans management, just coaching for the last like 4 or 5 years that I've been doing. It's just the same with everything, bro. Like same with university and school. Like you always have people that go to a uni lecture. Out of the 30 people in the class, only about 1 or 2 people actually succeed and get the job that they were looking for. It's just how life works.
Got a couple of quick fire questions. So first one, now you don't have to necessarily, well, I don't know if you'll be comfortable answering this. How well financially?
Last month we done 113,000.
Fuck.
Bro, this is a profit as well.
Fuck.
Yeah. Like that is insane, just for context as well. Just because I really like to be transparent, like always. That is both the coaching and the management together. But yeah, it's going pretty fucking well. I think as well. I knew you were gonna ask that, so I was like, let me just say it because I don't care about it, bro. Like it's. I think a lot of people like either hide things or they bullshit, but I'm just happy to just be as transparent as possible. I think I think there's a lot of things that came together for us to have this crazy like success so quickly. And for context, like, you know, the coaching side of it has only been about for about 7 months, like I said. So it's like, imagine starting a business and in 7 months time, you're making that much profit in a month.
Bro, you've got to remember as well, like traditional businesses, like you can be not profitable for a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're doing that already.
Profit.
What was your first month?
What for the coaching?
Yeah.
I think for the coaching, the first month we done like 30,000.
Fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this like and you're like leveraging TikTok organic, aren't you?
Yeah.
And there you go. So like that's the thing. Like a lot of people will overcomplicate it, and like people think like, oh, I've not got money to pump into ads and stuff like that. Like TikTok organic is a fucking gold mine at the moment, and that's it. It's like Gary Vee always said, like, just start producing content. Start, because it's super simple to do.
Just learn about it. Yeah, just learn about it. Best way to learn about it is just by doing it. Watch some YouTube videos, obviously, to get like the basic understanding, and then just go for it. But yeah, once you really understand how to market online, you can sell anything. Obviously, marketing and sales, you know, if you need to do a sales school, I think those are like the best fucking skills ever. Do you know what else is really interesting as well that I've been looking into? Is obviously with the chat GPT, which we kind of spoke a little bit about off potty. I think one of the, and this is going to sound like so fucking basic and like common sense, but let me just cook. One of the biggest skills that you can expand on in the next, like, well, in the future, forever to come, is how to actually be like personable. What I mean by that is, obviously it doesn't, well, if you haven't been living under a rock for the last, like, you know, couple of months, you would have seen that, you know, chat GPT and just AI in general is just going fucking viral. Like it's everywhere, and more businesses are finally now like actually implementing it into everything. Now, the thing about AI, and I'm not like no computer scientist, so I'm not talking from a point of like, oh, I know it all. But what I do know is computer science and AI, or AI, sorry, is just beyond so much smarter, and it can learn so much faster than the human brain, right? So there is no physical way you're able to compete. And, you know, it's everything from, not only can it answer complex questions, it can write things, it will start to make movies soon. This is another really common misconception that people have. Oh, but AI will never be able to make videos. fucking bozo. If let me just explain. If an AI can create a photo, which it can already, do you not understand what a video is? A video is just a bunch of photos put together so quickly that it becomes a video, right? It's the same as like, you know, when you have a book and you draw like a little stick man, and then each page you just draw the stick man to like do this, and you flick through it and it looks like it's moving. That's a video, right? So if AI can create photos right now, very, 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 very soon, it will be able to create videos and movies, right? So that'll put a lot of people out of business. Talking about OnlyFans, it will fucking like create loads of competition, right? So anyway, the reason why I mention all of this is because the one thing that AI can't do as well as a human, at least to my knowledge yet, which I'm sure it will eventually, but it'll be pretty difficult, is how to actually have empathy, how to be,
say empathize. That's the
how to be human. You know what I mean? So you really just need to be able to, just how me and you are right now, just be open and just talk and just be real, you know? Because I feel like us as humans as a whole, it doesn't matter where you're from, your religion, whatever, we all as humans have like an innate ability to sense when something is like real or not. Like for example, even I was more so talking about just then about when you're talking to somebody and like when you're with somebody, but also about like images and stuff. Like I've seen, I don't know, maybe it's just my Instagram feed, but the amount of times that I'll be on my Instagram like explore page and I'll click onto like a photo of like a Lambo or something. And like, I'm like, yeah, this is sick. And I save it because I save all like cool like photos just for like inspiration and shit. And then I keep looking at it. I'm like, that's not even a real photo. That's from like Forza Horizon or like, it's like AI, right? And then it just makes me unsave it because something about it's not real. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't, right? So it'd be the same thing with AI and online. Like people will only actually want to speak to people. It's the same as when, for example, I've had an issue recently with my SIM card. I fucking lost it in Turkey. When I went to Turkey, I just recently bought my mum like her whole teeth like procedure thing. So I flew out there with my mum, and obviously I needed to get a new SIM card. So I got a new SIM card, and my original one, I lost it. I'm an idiot, bro. I lost it somewhere. So anyway, so I'm fly back here, and I realized it when I'm back here. Right, so I need to call at 3. And you just have to like listen to a robot. Then you have to press number 3. Then you have to listen to a fucking robot. You just want to talk to a person, right? It'll be the same thing. I think it'll be the same thing.
Yeah. Makes sense. On the sort of, we've covered a lot of stuff OnlyFans related, but there was one thing that got cut out of the poddy, and you reminded me of it when you started talking about your mum. So on that, do you remember what happened with the last poddy, where the ending chopped off? You've done something incredible for your mum, haven't you? Let's go for that.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Did we not? Yeah.
We did it. It got cut off. And I remember I rang you, like, no, it's fucked. Like, because that was like the golden bit of the pod. Like that pod did so well for us. That was missed out. So I think everyone needs to hear it because it is special.
Sure, man. It's my like biggest achievement to me, bro. It's, I mean, essentially I was able to retire my mum when I was 22 years old. And that was with the help of when I was running my SMMA, so marketing agency, and my coaching business on the side at the point. To me, so for a bit of context for anybody who's maybe listening who doesn't know who I am, I moved from Latvia. So I was born in Latvia. I lived there till I was 10, and I moved here with just my mum to the UK. And we grew up in like a council estate. We've never had like money. We've literally had just about money to survive. So definitely could have been worse, but the reason why I've had just about money to survive is because how hard my mum and my stepdad has worked, like all of their life. And my mum was a cleaner, so she would clean offices and like warehouses. And I remember one day I went with her to her, like just to do work with her, just because I was bored. I think I was like, I can't remember. I think I was like 16, 17 at the time. So I think I was still in school or college. I think I was in college or something. And anyway, so I went with her, and I helped her just do a day of cleaning, aka just lift the Hoover up and down the stairs and like Hoover under the desk and like lean over, etc. And bro, me as a young teenager, like 16, 17 years old, after that day, like I was fucking tired and like my back hurt and this and that. And I knew like, holy shit, if I'm in pain, my mum must be like, you know, so tired of this. She doesn't want to do it. And I could see it in her face as well. And that's what really gave me the idea of like, well, I just need to make sure that like I can look after her. And that was my goal for God knows. I mean, let's just say it was 18 for like 4 years till 22, till I was able to actually retire her.
What was that moment like?
Yeah, fucking surreal. I done it in Christmas, 2020, I want to say it was.
What was the story? Was you at like a restaurant or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I got like a card. So also for context, that Christmas, me and my mum, we both spoke and we both agreed that we're not going to get each other presents because my mum just couldn't afford it. And she's such a like, she's like the most selfless, I want to say. I don't know if that's a word, right?
Yeah.
She will go above and beyond to do things for other people, and then like she'll put other people and prioritize than herself, right? She's the type of person. And like, I just know how like just horrible it must have been for her to be like, I just can't get you like a present, right? So she was like, let's just agree that we're not going to get each other presents for this Christmas. And I was like, yeah. Little did she know.
It was the biggest fucking one of her life.
Yeah, innit? So I took her to a restaurant, and in Latvia we celebrate Christmas on the 24th. So it was on the 20th. I remember this. Yeah, it was the 24th of December 2020. I drove her to a restaurant, and we're there. Had our food, whatever, and then afterwards, I paid the bill. We're about to leave. I'm like, oh, mum, I'm just gonna go to the toilet. I was wearing like I think it was a blazer or like a jacket, and I just leaned in like this, and I got like an envelope out. I just put it on the table, and she was already like, oh my god, what the hell? No, Markuss, no. She must have probably thought it was like flight tickets or something like that. So I left it there and I went to the toilet. When I came back, bro, she hadn't touched it. She didn't touch it. I was like, did you open it? She was like, no. I'm like, mom, just fucking open it. And then like, as she's opening it, she's already tearing up. She's crying because she gets emotional about like the smallest little things. And then as she was reading it, she was like, what? She was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, like, yeah. She was like, what do you mean? And basically in Latvian, I wrote out, essentially it said something along the lines of like, do you remember that day when I came with you to work about 4 years ago? And I remember that day when we came home and like we spoke about how difficult it is and this and that. And this is the reason why I wanted to start making money and just in general to look after you, this and that. And finally, mum have been able to do it. And the card said like, welcome to get ready for your retirement, something along those lines. And essentially I gave her two options. I said either you can have a big chunk lump sum for money like now because I saved up, or I'll just pay you monthly, which will be all your bills way paid off and some and a chunk on top per month. Even to this day, she still hasn't agreed to either of them, but I've obviously been paying her on a monthly basis. And again, it's little things like, for example, like the turkey thing that I was just talking about there. When we spoke about money, right? Not having to worry about and stress about little things. So initially, because my mum has always been self-conscious about her teeth, like that's been one of her like biggest things. So I knew this would mean like a lot to her. And I basically done this for her as a Christmas present, but we only were able to fly now because we were traveling. Long story short, essentially the dental practice said it was only going to be £5,500. So I was like, yeah, cool. We flew there and done the x-ray, this and that. And then basically they were like, cool, well, we can do it for £5,500, but that means she will have 2 rotten teeth left. And we can put like essentially like veneers or whatever over the top, but long term it's really unhealthy and you're going to have to come back, this and that. So it'll be an extra, I think it was like 1 point something thousand, or it's 1.5. So it came up to 7,000 total. And I remember this as well. Like we were sitting there, like it was basically like this, like a sofa, me here, my mum here, and the dental practice owner there. And he was like, yeah, so it'll be another £1.7,000 or £1.5,000, sorry. And my mum was like, oh my God. And before she could like open her eyes, I'm already giving her my card. I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
And right, guys, like fucking deep this. Like this is what money can actually do. Like you are single-handedly taking away your mum's pain.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you need any fucking motivation to get off your ass and start making some money, you can retire your mum, you can do stuff for her that she's always wanted, and take her out of pain. Like what else could you possibly need to get to drive you?
Completely agree. I think to a lot of guys as well, like, and like you'll look at my Instagram as well and you'll think like, oh, but I really want like the Lambos and the Ferraris and this lifestyle and stuff. The reason, and I spoke to this on Matt's poddy, like the one I done before this, funny, he was like, fucking hell, bro, like, I don't mean to be like offensive or anything, but like, I didn't think you were going to be like, I thought you're going to, based from your Instagram, I thought you're going to be a bit like, arrogant and like this and that. But the reason why my Instagram and my social media is like that is because I just know how marketing works.
Yeah.
If I post a video or a photo of me doing hard work, it'll get maybe like 500 likes.
Yeah.
If I post a Lambo a night out, it'll get like 5,000.
And what brings you more clients, more custom?
Correct.
And that's the thing. And this is where it gets interesting, because like we can go on holiday and we can rent a car. Like the Lambo was, I think it was 2,500 a day. Right. We rent that. But that is literally an investment into ourselves, because all that's going to do is generate views on social media, which then is going to gain traction, followers, and then every single follower. And this is something to think as well. If you're running a business, like I view every single Instagram follower as a new customer, new potential customer. All you've got to do then is just close them. And that can be through stories, lives, whatever that may be. But once they're there, it's your job to just get the job done. And I don't think a lot of people actually view it in that way.
Completely agree. Yeah, I mean, they just look at it as like another social media tool to waste time on, right? And get addicted to. The reason why I was just, and that's also how I started, by the way, in terms of the coaching. Once I really looked at it as a business, I was like, oh, so I'm getting like, I think at the time I was getting like 700 views on my Instagram story. Oh, if I just swipe up, you're telling me there's 700 potential clients right here. Or I'll just message them. So that's literally how I started, the same way, bro. But going back to the conversation of like why my Instagram looks like that and why we do all this luxury shit is because of marketing, right? But going back, you said like this is what money can do, like look after your mum and or just look after things, etc. That's for some young guys. Maybe you might look at like my Instagram and things like that, and you might think like that's why you want to do it, that's why you want to make a lot of money. But you'll soon realize, bro, well, maybe everyone's different, maybe it's just me, but I know it's not, because I know you're the same. Exactly. You'll soon realize that there's only so many cool things that you can do until it just becomes like, I don't know, it just doesn't excite you as much. And the biggest thing is, how does it make you feel? You know what I mean? Like seeing my mom's reaction to like retiring her is just nothing in comparison to how I felt when I drove the Ferrari for the first time.
Exactly. And it's nothing will compare. And that's what the biggest thing that I'm sort of living by at the moment, and I'm trying to sort of keep in my mind with every decision that I'm doing, is that if I can leave this earth knowing that I've had a positive impact on people and made genuine happiness for people, and actually been able to have a positive impact on their life, my mission's complete. You've done that with your mum. You've done that with everyone else that you're helping. Like that is way more important than the money. The money comes along with it.
You know what else is really interesting as well? Especially like with mine and your thing, what we've got going on in terms of the coaching, me and you can make a way bigger impact when we're helping people who are just starting out, like especially your business model, bro. You are making a way bigger impact as a whole to more people, and the people that you do make an impact, it's a bigger impact in comparison to something like when I used to run my marketing agency and I used to work with lawyers and helping them go from 100K to 150K in a month. It doesn't change their life.
No, because it gets to a certain point. It's like I can't think of what the term's called, but it's like once you get past a certain level of income, like I think Jordan Peterson was talking about it. Once you get to a certain point, like no more extra money can positively impact your life. But for the people at the bottom, like the growth curve is exponential. The more and more money you're used to having, like it just the shift, it like sort of slopes down.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, so we covered like everything that you've done for your mum. Mad, like the biggest respect for doing that. But with earning £113,000 of profit last month, that surely comes with some sort of purchase for yourself. So what have you been doing? How's your lifestyle changed since launching the business, since getting into this?
You know what's mad? Me and Harry, my business partner, worked this out. On average, for the last 3 months, with our expenses per month have been about £25,000-30,000.
Fucking hell! I see how many people some people never achieve that yearly in their lifetime.
But so I'm sure people are curious, like, what is it then? Like,
because even I know you don't go out.
Yeah.
You're not going out partying, so where the fuck is that money going? It's gym memberships.
So I've joined 5 gyms and I'm paying about 2K a month for all the gyms I do. So one thing that pops to mind straight away is a watch that I recently purchased. It was a Yachtmaster 41mm, a rhodium dial. That was £14,500, I believe.
Yep.
That was a purchase. The apartment, me and my business partner, we had to pay 6 months up front. I think it was 6K a month, which came to like £32,000, I think. That was another decent purchase. Honestly,
do you know what? You're gonna get flagged on the TikTok comments for that. The maths was off there.
oh, was it off? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah. What else? The other, I know, like every month there is at least £5,000 going out to like family, like genuinely.
Sick.
So there's about 2-3K to my mum, and then typically, like for example, actually it's quite personal, so I won't mention what it was, but one of my cousins, I only have 2 cousins, so one of them is potentially having health issues, and my mum messaged me saying, she has to go hospital, do the checks, etc., but it's going to cost X amount, and she's just stressed about it, but she needs to do it. So I was like, cool, how much? I just sent the money. So a lot of money goes into that. I actually have been putting a little bit into crypto, a couple K a month. It's sitting at it's only at like 10 and a half, I think. I've only recently started putting money into it because I've seen it going back up now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe. See what happens. Where else? A lot of it also is back into the business, but funny enough, like we kind of spoke about this earlier, things like Ferraris and shit like that. Like I know it doesn't sound like it's a business expense, but I mean, it literally is.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of my expenses are also just like lifestyle related. So like, funny enough, like clothing, write that off.
Because it literally, it's a lifestyle business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your TikTok content depends on it.
What else? What else do we spend a lot of money on? Convenient things as well. There's a lot of convenient, more so to be honest, what it is convenient things, such as like cleaners. We haven't got a chef yet, but we tried like meal preps and shit.
Yeah.
That was terrible, by the way. Don't get meal preps. The worst fucking tasting shit in the world. Obviously dry cleaners, things like that. Like it just saves a lot of time. Holidays.
You've done a fair few holidays, haven't you?
Yeah. So, but yeah, mostly what it comes down to is like comfort, right? So can I rent overseas a car for like 30 euros a day? Or can I, like, yeah, sure. But am I going to rent a car for 500 euros a day? Most likely. Because one, it's like comfort, like, a car that will cost you 500 a day, will be a lot easier, more comfortable to drive than one that will, for the most part. But then also like content, if I rent a car for fucking $500 or euros a day overseas and I had to create content with it, funny enough, it pays for itself, which is quite crazy. Other than that, I'm just saving a lot. Yeah, I have quite a lot of money saved, which is crazy, bro. Like I remember when I was starting out. So this was back when, this was probably my mindset when I first went to work with my mum, like that one day when I was like 16, 17, I remember £100,000. I was thinking like, if I ever make like I remember I was thinking like those people that make £100,000 a year must be like the ones that are driving like the Aston Martins and like the Ferraris. Bro, like it's 100 grand.
Yeah.
Can't do much with 100 grand at all.
It's even like when the point when, like I think it was Grant Cardone. I was watching a clip and he was like, "If you got $1 million, like you're not rich.
Yeah,
like it's still like you're a drop in the ocean compared to everyone else, and it still doesn't enable you to actually live the dream lifestyle."
Do you know what else? I spoke about this on one other poddy. Really interesting thing, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me because like we're about the same stage, I'd say, in journey. When you're starting out, obviously you, in terms of just business as a whole, it doesn't matter what industry, just in business as a whole, you go from broke to starting, right? You obviously see a lot of these guys online who are, pretty much like, I guess like me now, like flexing their lifestyle. And you think like, pretty cool. They must be like living all this stuff and doing all this cool stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And there's so many of these fuckers out there, including me, right? And you just believe it when you're starting out. You're just like, this guy must be like fucking sick. He must be driving these cool cars every day. He must own this stuff. That probably is his watch and all this stuff, right? And then if you do this certain entrepreneurship thing for long enough and you network with enough people, and on top of that, you actually start making the money that these guys supposedly say they are making, you start to kind of see some red flags and certain things
you see through the bullshit immediately.
Yeah. And there's so many people now that I used to look up to or used to speak to or know of, that I've either spoken to other people who know them, or like I said, I've met them before myself, but then certain things that they said now just aren't adding up. Like, you know, if you're saying you're making a certain amount of money, you don't have to be living lifestyle. Like, you know, I completely understand. And I remember on this body, I spoke about this, and they said, they were like, yeah, but you know, not everybody has to be buying the nice watches and, you know, driving these supercars and owning these insane houses. I agree. I completely agree, by the way. However, if you are making all this money, you shouldn't, the one thing that you should definitely be spending money on is comfort, such as what I was just, then this is how I got into the conversation. That's where I got the idea. You're supposedly making all this money. Why are you still, you know, going to normal restaurants? That's completely fine. But it's little things like, why are you still waiting in queues for certain things? Why do you still choose to go for the lower or mid option where you can easily afford the high tier option of whatever said thing we're talking about here, right? And again, it doesn't go to say that like everybody needs to be doing that. I'm not saying that. No. Like if you want to save your money, that's fine. But at a certain level, and I understand a lot of people can't relate because maybe you haven't made 100,000 a month, and that sounded so dickheady, right? That sounded like so like. Right, I get it. Like a lot of people can't relate, but I promise you, once you're making this amount of money, a couple grand to spend just for your comfort is nothing. Like if you're flying abroad and you're going on holiday, if you have two options of Airbnbs and one of them is like 1,000 and it's like pretty shitty looking thing, whatever, like an apartment or whatever. Or you just pay an extra 5 grand, so total is 6,000, and you get a really nice apartment with a jacuzzi, a nice like penthouse view, etc. And if it's your holiday, you might as well just spend an extra. Like if you're making 100 grand, what is an extra 5K to?
Exactly. And that for me, something I can relate to that with here, especially like the big thing is like you said, the queues, hospitality. If once you get to that certain level, you start to know that every single restaurant in Manchester or London is never fucking fully booked. They've got tables. It just depends on which clients are asking for those tables. Now, and a prime example of that, and with the holiday one. So when I went to Sicily, I was there for 4 days, and I paid 2,500 euros, I think it came to, for a concierge whilst I was there. Every single thing was taken care of. I didn't have to know where I was eating. I just knew I was going to the best places. Didn't have to pick. Like he planned everything. And every time I leave the place, there was a car waiting. The door was open. The comfort is what, and like that ease, peace of mind to actually enjoy the experience. That's when that's what you start to appreciate when you've got the money. And that's the sort of stuff that the people who are lying and misleading people forget to include that part. And that's when you'll catch them stood outside Cirque in Manchester shivering.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. And again, the only time I have a problem with people who are portraying that they're making all this money, but then these red flags come up, is when they're portraying that they're making. If you're not making all this money, that's completely fine. I fucking wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And exactly the same with me. Like there is nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, but you are sacrificing your integrity if you're doing that.
Correct.
Because
eventually your bullshit gets caught up.
Exactly. And then your reputation's done, and your reputation is everything. So if you play with that short-term mindset, you're going to be fucked in the long run.
Is there saying something like it takes like 5 years to build something and it takes like a couple of minutes to like break it down or some shit? In a nutshell, that's basically what it's like, you know? And also, how can you fucking sleep at night?
Exactly. like knowing that you're actively sort of...
You've got this lie going on.
Yeah. The thing is as well, though, it's so much harder to lie because when you're telling the truth, you don't have to think about what you're saying. When you're lying, you don't know what you've told this person, that person, that person. You've got to actually fucking think, and you will end up tripping yourself up at some point. I've had it several times where people have told me like certain things, and then a month later they'll reflect back on the same topic, but they will give me a different number of what they told me they'd done. It's like, why? Like, it impresses me already that you're trying to do something that 99% of people aren't doing. You're actively going out and trying to be entrepreneurial and break out of the system. So stop the bullshit. Like, it doesn't add any more value to you. Like, it's not, the money isn't everything. It's sort of, it comes with you as a person and what you're trying to do and how you're going about doing it.
This is why it's so difficult for me to now network with people.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. So when you are looking to like network, or for example, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this right now who maybe would want to like get to know me or you, right? On like on a business level and learn from us, or just network and like become a friend of ours, right? What are things? So there's kind of two questions, right? One, which is like, what are the things that like are like red flags that would just make you not want to even talk to somebody or get to know them? But then also the other one is like, I guess the opposite, which is like, oh, okay, cool. I'd get to know.
And this was something that I definitely wanted to touch on today, because we were talking about this and we talked about it several times. Like, you come around here, like you was there the other week, just chilling for beers. And we literally said, we wish we had the cameras rolling, because our whole conversation was talking about marketing, making money, client acquisition, all very important business-centric topics, and none of it was forced. We didn't come in and say, right, we're going to sit down with a plan tonight and we're going to discuss business. It just flows organically, and that's the importance of having a network around you, because it's not like a chore, it's not laborious, it comes natural. And then people said to me like, oh, move to a city to network, but that has actually happened. Like, I didn't think I'd ever meet you, Harry. Got the other guys, we've got like HK, all the other guys that are in business, our competitors, still network with them every day. I'm going out with my competitors on Friday. Like, even though competitors, I'm still going to learn from them and they're going to learn from me. Like, that's important. But in terms of going to your question, I think the stuff that I look for would be someone that is driven from the get-go, and in terms of they want to actively, they reach out to me and they show an interest straight away. They want to jump on a call, something like that. Two, I would want to see that they're a self-starter. So if I tell them something, they'll still go away and research it and do something for themselves. I wouldn't want to fucking be sat around with someone where we're like babying them. Like if I was like mentoring or what, like I think I sort of went down the mentoring road then. But yeah, in terms of like having someone around, I want someone that has like some self-starter in them. Like, if they work in a different field, they're still learning on their path, and then they can still share with us. Like, it's definitely like a value exchange between everyone that's sat around the table. I think a big one is be fucking genuine. Like, when we're sat around, like, you did more profit than me last month. Like, that doesn't mean I don't feel shitty about saying that. Like, it's nothing. Like, I fucking love seeing that. And I think that you've got to then be someone that isn't going to be jealous and isn't going to sort of look at you and then get like green eyes over it. You've got to use it as motivation. It's like, my business has been running longer and you made more profit last month. What does that do to me? It gives me a kick up the fucking ass. And that's the attitude you've got to have, I think, to sit in these people. And I'd probably say the last one is sort of the people I want to be around are the people that have like a relentless work ethic. So they are the people that they're not sort of bullshitting and justifying excuses to go out every weekend. If you've got to work, you've got to fucking work. And I don't want to be around people. This is the big one. About the stuff I don't like. I don't want to fucking be around someone who's always like, oh, I've got like such bad luck. Like, no, you've not. Like, grow up. There's so many, like, when people like pass their blame out onto the universe, take some accountability. We're getting it on our TikTok comments all the time at the moment. Like, people are saying, like, we were selling blankets and people are like, you are the reason that my kids are freezing. No, hang on a minute. Your kids are freezing because you've been financially irresponsible. There's been certain there's a certain path that you've taken and you've made certain decisions in your life. You are responsible for those decisions. And I'm not going to say you're bad for making those decisions, but you have to be accountable. And like, this goes back to it again. We had someone saying, you've just made £700 on those blankets. How about you donate it all to charity? So I commented back and said, all right, you donate 700 and then I'll double it. Gone. No comment back. that's the sort of people that you don't want to fucking be around. I'd probably say so. Yeah, the sort of people that won't waver, and I think another one actually is people that are really rational. So something that I used to struggle with was the ups and downs of like my business. My business notoriously, SaaS business, subscriptions, it can be like this. Now, when I first started, I would panic. But because of my network and I was around people that had already been through it, they were reassuring me straight away and they're like, this is part of the game. Like, don't worry. You're going to be sound. Like, your business isn't going to go away overnight. You built a brand. Relax. And like, that's the sort of people I want to be around, that if stuff is going bad, like, yeah, I'm like, fucking chill out. Like, we'll help you get it back up, or we'll help. Just, you can sort of, it's almost like therapeutic, like release that pressure out and then get soundboard back off them and then make you think everything's going to be sound.
Rather than them worrying with you and be like, oh my God, no, you're right, everything is going to shit.
If I said that to my friends at high school, they'd be like, fuck, that's bad.
Oh my God.
Like, because
what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
There was a time like where monthly recurring revenue dropped by like 20K within the space of like 2 months. And I was like, fuck. And like, I know if I went to people that weren't in my mindset, like our circle now, they would have been like, oh shit, Jack, like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, panic. And then they exacerbate. Is that the word? Exaggerate? Exaggerate. They exaggerate your panic then, because then it amplifies it in me. It's like, fuck, everyone around me is now, shit's hitting the fan for everyone now. But if you've got them people around you that are like level-headed, rational, you're going to be a winner.
Completely agree. The biggest one that I took away from I agree with all of them. You see, when you said it's all a value exchange,
yeah.
At the core principle, I think it comes down to that. So everything that you just mentioned there, those are value traits of people, right? Now, if they're off, like if the people don't have them, then the value exchange, because you have those traits, everything that you just mentioned there, you have them. If the person doesn't have them, then the value exchange is off, because like you just said, that example there and then, if shit is hitting the fan, you don't want to go to some bimbo that's going to start freaking out and like, you want something that's chill and ask, okay, why? What happened? When did it go? Oh, could you avoided this? All right, what can we do next time to avoid it? What can we do to build it up, right? So I think at the base principle, at least this is how I look at it, bro, is value. Like it's all a value exchange. Life is a value exchange, even when it comes to girls. Like the reason why, like, in general, like the reason why you see like an older guy with a fucking 10 out of 10 is there's a value exchange. The older guy is giving her lifestyle. She is giving him not only like boosting his fucking ego and showing all his friends, look at this fucking 10-10 that I got. But then also he's obviously getting what she's given, right?
That's true.
But if we're talking about business and entrepreneurship, I think in terms of value exchange, so money is a representation of what have you achieved, what have you done. There are some instances, obviously, if you get lucky, lottery, crypto, let's just exclude those, because those aren't the fucking, those are like the anomalies. Right? But typically money is it not justifies, but it shows what have you done, in your life in general. So unfortunate truth is, if you are watching this and you haven't yet achieved crazy, basically, if you haven't quite hit the kind of monthly numbers that I've been talking about, just being honest, and I know I'm going to sound like a dickhead, but it's just the truth, and I'm just trying to teach you, the chances of you messaging me and me genuinely paying attention and wanting to actually reach out to you and meet you and go for a coffee are very unlikely. Because what is the value exchange?
Why would you? No one wants to be the smartest in the room.
Correct.
When you're the smartest, everything's boring.
So correct. That's a misconception that people have. They want to be like that alpha male, the smartest guy there. That no, you don't. You genuinely don't. At the echelon, all you're trying to do is just, well, how can I get better? In order to get better, you need to be around people that are better than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think for me is the value exchange. Here's the thing though, let me counter it, right? So if you are watching this and you maybe, like I said, haven't done the monthly revenue numbers, or you haven't built something that is just insane, what can you do to still get my attention, to maybe work with me, network with me, or just get me to pay attention? I have such a perfect example, which was literally like, well, he's been doing it now for God knows how long, maybe like a week or two. But this is a perfect example. Have a look at this. Also go into the messages after as well. So this is
So
essentially
what am I clicking on here on the videos?
yeah. Make sure there's no sound maybe. Yeah. Essentially what Jack is looking at for everybody who's just listening and can't see the screen. So somebody has literally gone out of their way to create a Markuss Hustle Instagram account.
There's me.
Yeah. You're in there as well. Yeah. And literally, I don't even know who this person is. I don't know their name, whatever it is. This person is literally downloaded my YouTube videos, all of my podcasts, everything, and he's making clips and TikToks and Instagram Reels for me without asking me for anything.
And this, I think, goes back to that self-starter. They've made a decision without even having the approval of you, like without knowing that it's actually going to work, but they've just done it.
Can I just say, by the way, this was his message, by the way, yeah?
Yes.
I'll read it out. Hey G, I actually don't think I've read it properly. Hey G, would be really interested towards working with you for your short form content, but I'm not like all the others. Once I grow this account to some good numbers, then you can see what I can really do for you. He hasn't asked me for money. He hasn't asked me when can I jump on a call with me. He hasn't sent me a massive paragraph to tell like this is da-da-da-da. He's just doing it. Yep. I don't know who, if you're watching this, bro, I'm actually going to reply to him. Yeah, I'm going to reply to him after this. So if you are listening to this or watching this and you want to network with high individuals, maybe it's not me and Jack, maybe just in general, you're thinking like, how can I network with like the Iman Gatzis? And maybe he's a bit too far fetched now, but the concept I'm trying to teach you guys is you need to provide some sort of value. Remember, it's all an exchange, right? It's a value exchange. You are not, unfortunately, providing me or anybody close to mine and Jack's kind of level any value by just asking us if you can network with us or jump on a call. Like that's just not, unfortunately, how it works. It's kind of like the same as like if you are and this is going to hurt maybe for a lot of people, but it's kind of the same as like if you're just your average guy, you don't go gym, you haven't built a successful business, you literally are just the average guy, and you want to go after the 10-10, good luck. But just remember, there's guys like me and Jack. Yeah. Like you got to compete with guys like me and Jack. Yeah. So again, if the girl has options like that, who is she going to choose? What's the value exchange, right? Yeah. You genuinely might be the nicest nicest guy on planet Earth. You might be way nicer than me and Jack. You might treat her way nicer than me and Jack. But is she going to give you a chance even? Probably not.
And that's like the big thing. It's like Tristan talks about it with like the importance of social media. Because he's like, if a girl sees my Instagram profile, like as in Tristan, him speaking, if a girl sees my Instagram profile, she's going to entertain any conversation with me. These average Joe Schmo, you're sitting in requests forever. Like, and that's what it comes back to. It's sort of that value exchange and setting yourself apart from everyone else. Because like you said, it might not be like someone could treat someone way better than we could, but it's about we're the people that are doing something that 95% aren't. So if there's, by the law of averages, we're going to stand out a lot more and have that ease of sort of sliding in the DMs and getting a response, as opposed to the basic guy who is, I don't know, 9 to 5, plays football, like whatever.
But I have no fucking sympathy. Genuinely don't. Like a gym, you can work out for free. Yeah. Go for a run, do some push-ups. Yeah. When it was 2020 lockdown, I would work out in my back garden for pretty much like we were in lockdown, like completely everything shut for like 4 months, 5 months. I still worked out.
Yeah. So when shit hit the fan, my dad like fucking flapped, went to Costco and bought like loads of 10-kilo bags of rice. So you best believe that I was in the back garden, shoulder pressing them, squatting with them on every day religiously, because stuff doesn't change, but like you still make it work. Yeah.
I was gonna say I had I used to, because that's when I was still kind of broke at back then. I would do my shopping at like Aldi, and I would get like the big bags that they have of like they're not like plastic, they're like I don't know, kind of like a material like this material, right? And I remember I would just put like all my water bottles in there and just start like fucking doing curls and shit. So
and that's the thing, because it's not this. The thing is like, it's not the money, but it's the traits that allow people like us to get money that makes it attractive to girls. So it's what I think it's sort of like the fact that we can be hardworking, driven, determined. We're going to achieve our goals. And then That's what all the girls want to look for. They want security. They want to know that I can be properly looked after. And is Joe Schmo who works at Starbucks going to be able to cater to that girl's needs if she's a 10-10? No.
Correct.
When on the marketplace, you've got Top G, Tate. Who's she picking?
What color is your Ford Fiesta? Actually, but yeah, I completely agree. When I say I don't have no sympathy for these guys, is because I was one of those guys. Yeah, for sure. Like, bro, I was fucking broke. I was skinny as hell. Like, and I started going gym because I was skinny as fuck, not because for whatever reason else.
And that's on that point. But I talked about it on that interview that I did this morning. So I haven't really shared the story too much. I've talked about little bits of it. But the first pair of trainers I ever got, my mum had to transfer me the money for. I didn't have the money in my bank. The first day I launched Aftermarket, we made £30. Yesterday, hit 1 million. And that just fucking shows you, if you are religiously consistent, hardworking, driven, you can go from not even having £100 in your bank to launching a company and not looking good on day one, but sticking at it. And then 2 years later, it's at 1 million.
How crazy is that?
It's fucked. But all it is being religiously consistent and hardworking. And when you do that, you're going to improve in all aspects of your life. And then the money comes with it. That's the given. And we're not I don't think that we necessarily chase the money. We're working on and I don't necessarily think we're also actually working on building these traits specifically, but on this journey of building and entrepreneurship, everything comes with it. And that's why we do the podcast. We want to encourage people to start, and because you're going to notice yourself level up financially and in every other aspect of your life.
Can I just say, because I 100%, I guarantee most people, when you said we don't necessarily chase money, I guarantee you most people think, they're bullshitting. Why else are you running the business then? Yeah. Let me just explain. Please let me cook and listen to what I'm about to say, right? When you're starting out, including, I don't know about you, but I definitely was. I was chasing the money. I needed the money. That's why I started a business. I didn't fucking start a business for the charity or just so I can be a better person. No, I started a business because I needed to look after my mum, myself. I wanted to afford these things. So yes, when we first started out, you start because you're chasing the money. Which, by the way, is the wrong mindset, because if I was to teach my younger self a lesson, is actually, as hard as it is, and it's pretty much impossible. When you're broke, that's all you can think about is money. Yeah. Same as when you're hungry. When you're starving, all you can think about is food. Yep. But when you're full, thinking about food, it almost makes you feel sick, right? So anyway, so when you're starting out, yes, you are chasing the money, the number depends on the person to person. For me, it was after about 50,000 a month. Genuinely, my life has not I haven't been trying to hit the next goal. Sure, we still have goals in the business, of course, right? We're always trying to get better. But what do we chase now? Why are we still doing it? Why are we still I can only speak for myself, but is just because that is what makes me and you tick, right? If me and you made an extra 10 grand the next month in comparison to last month, I guarantee you, maybe even 50K. 100%, nothing would change. We still have a nice apartment, we still have a nice car, this and that. We still go on holidays, whatever. It's not that anymore. At a certain point, genuinely, you don't chase that.
It's just the drive to be building something and be progressing something. Yeah. But I think where this goes full circle as well is because where I talked about earlier about the positive impact, that's a massive thing for me now. So exactly like you, I started for the money. And I was and I only planned to run Aftermarket for maybe a summer. And just thought I'd make some quick cash over summer. That was my exact motive. But then I started to see the positive impact it would have. I could have the money, and it didn't no longer really become as motivating for me if I was doing it for myself. I wanted to see other people benefit positively. We've just, and a perfect example of this is we've just we've just partnered with a charity that work with people that are out of work. So they might not be earning income, they might be a caregiver, they might be disabled, they might have anxiety, might not be able to leave the home. So we're helping this demographic of people now earn money. And we don't have to do that. We can carry on just advertising on social media. But like I said, going back to earlier, I want to leave this planet knowing that I've had a positive impact. And if I can help someone get off benefits and actually start to earn some money and like that. Because again, if we go back to what we said earlier about the lawyers earning that extra 50k, that means nothing to them. If you can get someone off benefits and get them earning even 1,500 quid a month, 2 grand a month, that is going to change their life, period. And that brings way more satisfaction than me seeing another 20 grand in my bank account.
Completely agree. Also, you can't really make an impact when you don't have a lot of money, because with money comes power.
Yep.
And with power, well, you can use the power how you want to, right? Luckily, me and you are actually good people, and we actually use the power in a good way by helping people. Yep. But if me and you were both broke, and me and you were trying to teach people or just encourage people to get up and just go gym and do something for yourself, do you think anyone would listen to us? No, nobody would even watch it.
No, no one would take any notice.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well. And I spoke to Matt about this. You've done a poddy with him as well. Yeah. At the end of the podcast, we were kind of just talking about why do we actually carry on? What do we actually want? Because if we really wanted to, we could easily take a good few years out, maybe even a decade, and we're good. But why do you carry on? Why? For me, my answer was, for me, it's like just increasing my power. I genuinely want to get to that stage where, let's just say one of my friends is stuck in a country and he can't get out for some reason. Literally give me a couple of minutes or an hour, make a few phone calls, and he's got a visa to get out of the country or whatever, right? That's the type of power that I want. And it's already at small scale, such as if me and you want any restaurant or nightclub here in Manchester, give us a few texts and we've got a table secured, right? Yeah. And how good does that feel, right?
No, it's the best feeling in the world. And it's because I remember, I always remember wanting to go to the best restaurants when I was younger, and then thinking oh, right, I'm going to try and book Tattoo, let's say. Tattoo for a Saturday night at 8 p.m. If you go onto Tattoo's website now and try and book at 8 p.m, I bet you can't get in for at least 2 months. We've done it before, and it was 2 or 3 months back in summer. But I remember always trying to book this place, and I was like, fuck, why is everything always so full? And when you've gone through that, as I'm sure many people watching will, when you want to go to these places, but when you're with us, I could text the manager on this podcast right now and get us a table for when we leave here. That's what, and that is it's such a good feeling, because it's I feel it's you start to be recognized and people respect you. And because when you do well and people seeing you do well, respect comes with that. You're obviously going to get the people that are going to be shitting on you and giving negative comments, whatever. The people who throw shade at you, the people who throw shade at me. But anyone who's level-headed and sort of some level of success themselves, they'll recognize it and they'll help you out and do whatever they can, with this, to ease your life that little bit more. And that goes back to the comfort.
Mm-hmm. But again, it only comes if you are at a certain caliber, if you've done something.
You've got to fucking work.
You know what I thought as well? That particular example, again, just full circle into the girls' conversation what we're having. Again, who would she rather choose? A guy who can pretty much book anywhere, anytime, in her favorite city, or a guy who has to stay on hold for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
But it's genuinely, I know it's kind of funny, but it's little things like that. Yeah. You want your, at the end of the day, if you want to have a girl, the ideal scenario is for a girl to constantly be in awe of you, looking up at you.
A good example of this, and I did this with my girlfriend, she'd never been to a club before, proper nightclub. And when we went to Cirque, the massive queue. As soon as I was walking over, the bouncers know me, the manager came out, shook my hand in front of her, and I was only just getting to know her at the time. But then that's to her, that's why has the manager come out and greeted him, shook his hand, and just brought him in past everybody else? Yeah. And then that raises your status in their eyes, doesn't it? And it's the same thing as in Tattoo. I'll be sat there, the manager will come over to the table and shake your hand. How you doing, Jack? Have a conversation with you, and then sort extra stuff out for you, give you really good treatment in front of a girl. That does wonders.
Yeah. You know what else? You just reminded me a really interesting thing as well. And I always knew this even when I was broke, but I never understood it. I understand now, which is the richer and the more famous you get, the more free shit that you get, right? Yeah. And when I was broke, I was why? It pissed me off. I'm like, these motherfuckers can afford it. Why are you giving the shit for free to them? Again, it's all a value exchange, bro. The reason why we get like exclusive this or free that or offer this or discount here is because that's a way of them giving us value. And if we work with them or go there or do this or promote them, that's value for them. It's a value exchange. If you're just a Joe Schmo doing nothing, what is the value exchange for them to offer you that? I mean,
they're getting nothing in return.
There isn't, right? But again, it only comes if you build something, get to a certain level.
And that's not, but I think when we say like build something, I don't want people to sort of think that it's going to be hard. It's going to be like, well, no, it is going to be hard, but I mean like this is going to be shit. I'm going to have to go through a grind that's going to be shit for 2 years to get to this point. The journey like is the best fucking thing about it because you watch everything change around you. People start to look at you differently. Like obviously, again, you're going to get the haters, but you're going to get people like everyone's mindset will change. Like, and you'll hear people talking about you or stuff like that, and it's stuff that you never expected to ever happen. And it's the journey and going through that process will be, if you can do it, like we've done it. I don't think there's nothing more in life that I think it's one of the best experiences in life that you can have because not that many people will ever get to do it. If you've been born rich, you'll never know what it's like. Yeah. And we're in a position where we've had to build from zero and now we're here.
And I think the reason why me and you get enjoyment from whatever it might be, like a luxury, that holiday, is because we know we've earned it. Yeah. And all those nights and all those days when we've been stressed the fuck out, worried, right? It's so rewarding just to actually achieve and buy that certain thing. But like you said, if you're born into it, I don't know, it might not feel the same. Exactly. So yeah, I remember I said this on the first part of our podcast when I'd done this about a year ago. If you are watching this and you are born broke or you're in a broke situation right now, oh my God, I know it's going to sound like such bullshit, but you genuinely don't understand how lucky you are. I know it sounds mad, but I promise you that's the most powerful motive. I mean, it can be and it cannot be, right? But if you use it as a form of motivation, there is no more powerful form of motivation. Maybe like a long year breakup, but I don't know, I've never experienced that. But like if you're dead broke right now and you're in a shit position that you don't want to be in, there is no better motivator than that. Because once you make it, then it's like you gotta find motivation from like certain things in an essence. But when your situation, when your current point of view of life is your motivation, that's so easy. You just wake up and you get to work.
You've got no fucking choice.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
When you like at this point, you could like very easily you could stay on that couch for the next 2 weeks, not do nothing, and you're not going to be financially damaged. They have you have that choice, and that's why you need that drive and that motivation. But at that point, those people who are flat broke and bad situation, you have all of the ammunition that you need. You just need to literally pull the trigger, start, and I guess for me, that motivation and that get up and go is obvious. But a lot of people use it as a limiting factor and hold themselves back because of it. Like you're the perfect example, like coming from your background and you've used that to propel you to where you are today. But other people will be like, I can never be rich because I was born broke. Wrong.
Remember what you said about when I asked you, like, what do you look for in person that like would essentially be like a red flag for you to not network with them? You said about like always giving excuses and putting blame onto other things. That's exactly that. Yeah. Like that's so frustrating when people like just say like, oh, but because of this, but because of that, because of this, oh, but this is happening, so I can't. Bro, like literally look at it the other way around.
Go to bed 1 hour later and wake up 1 hour earlier. You've just freed up 2 hours to do that fucking thing, or start at least, and make one little change every day. Because I think that's another thing. People think like
that's huge.
You're going to just go from this to this.
Huge.
Just make one little change. If you're struggling to start, just make one change. And I'd probably say as well, it doesn't have to be in let's say if you want to start a business, but and you don't go to the gym or anything like that, make a change in your life that's going to positively impact you in the future. Start going to the gym first, then attend a networking event.
Sell your PlayStation.
Quit the gaming, then decide to start the business. Like you don't have to go from here to starting a business. Pick up all the traits along the way that are going to positively impact you when you start the business. But you've just got to start making those little changes, because if you don't, you're going to stay in a rut forever. And what's the fucking point doing that when we've only got one fucking spin on, like one fucking go on this earth? Why the fuck would you want to stay in that rut? Like, get up. Like,
I'm so glad you said that, bro, because I think most people that haven't started yet, they're in the mindset of, right, they may be watching this podcast, right, I'm motivated, right, I'm gonna tomorrow wake up, I'm gonna think of a business, I'm gonna do this, and they write down 20 things. But it's not, you can't do that.
No.
You might do it for the day, but then the next day you go back into your old habits.
Yeah.
But you slowly got to chip away.
And you ease yourself into it, because that's it. What I think is it 3 weeks or something like that for a routine to form? Like
something like that,
make the small changes each and every day so you don't feel a material impact to your life. And then before you know it, you're going to be in that rhythm of actually executing daily and knowing that you've got to execute.
But the hardest part is just starting.
I can agree. Because for me, I put off starting aftermarket for a while because I was scared of what other people would think. But now I would jump into any business.
I tell you what. Actually, I just had an idea. You know how I just said the hardest part is starting, but why? Why is that, right? And I think exactly what you just said. Most of the time, obviously, there's loads of different variables depending on the person, where they're at, etc., etc. But if we were to look at like as a sum of average, I would say most of the time, the reason why it's so hard to start is probably the fear of judgment.
Yeah, the fear of failure. And for me, it was, I'm scared that if I post this, that I've started this business on my social media and it fails, that people are going to question me. What happened? And then I'm going to have to explain that I failed.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. But you know what's really interesting?
Go on.
It's physically impossible to fail unless you quit.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I want to get into everyone's fucking head. Like, you can't fail if you don't give up.
That's like going to starting to go to gym and you're like, oh, but what if I fail? Yeah. You can't fail at gym. Like, how can you fail at gym? You just keep going to the fucking gym and working out.
Exactly. So yeah, on that, like, for the people that are watching, take it from us. And like, I can completely relate to you being scared to actually start. But we've both done it. We've both started, and the biggest advice that I would give now is stop fucking waiting. Like, stop pussing about, get it done, because that's the only regret I have now, that it took me months to do it. I wish I would have fucking started earlier. So take it from the people that have done it. Start now. Take action.
It's only going to take you years whether you start now or you start in 5 years. It's either way, to be successful, it's going to take you years.
Yeah.
But if you start now, let's just say it takes you 5 years, right? If you start now, in 5 years, you'll be at your certain goal.
That's it. Camilla, who was on The Apprentice, who came on the pod, she literally said like pretty much that. The time's going to pass anyway.
Yep.
Think like that the time's going to pass. So you might as well do something in that time.
And also, the longer you wait, the more likely you're not going to do it because of things come up in your life, such as a girlfriend, family.
And the longer that you can put it off, the easier that is to sort of justify in your head, and you'll get to a point when you don't even second guess yourself about starting it anymore. It will just get to a point where it's second nature to not do anything, to not act. And then when you're at that point, you're probably fucked.
Well, I think the really powerful thing that helped me and you just, I guess, start, right? Is obviously, what does it come down to? I think core, it comes down to just obviously not caring about other people's opinion too much. And it's easier said than done, but like, who the fuck actually cares? And I think I might have mentioned this on our first part. If you guys haven't, I recommend you watching the first podcast me and you done. That was so fucking good. If I didn't, I'll definitely say it now. And this is so, so true. It's like, if you are the type of person to worry about what others will think of you, the reason why you think that is because you are the type of person that comments on other people's shit.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you have never judged anyone, and even if it's the little thought in your head, even if you don't say it or type it, if it's still in your head and you're watching this right now and you're judging me or Jack, right? Like in a negative way, which is fine, do your thing. I don't care. I'm still going to make my money.
Yeah.
But just know you are programming yourself to think, oh, without really thinking about it, you're literally programming yourself to think, oh, others will probably think like this about me.
Yeah.
So when you're press record on your phone and you're recording, a little thought in the back of your head is thinking, somebody else is going to think about this.
There's another version of me out there that's waiting to comment on this.
Correct. But if you're just like a person who just looks at things at base value, how it is, and you just don't overdwell on things, and you're just like, all right, this person seems pretty nice, or fair enough, this person's a dickhead, but you just stop watching them, whatever. But you don't like go out of your way to comment and stuff. Then you are probably the type of person to also then start something and not really worry about it, not care about it too much. And whatever you do, is like somebody going to judge you, yes or no? Yes, it doesn't matter. Me and you right now, Jack, we could donate however much money to a charity, and I guarantee you there'll be people saying some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, but why? But let's say me and you donated 10 grand. Oh, but why only 10 grand? Or we donated it to a certain charity which helps, like, I don't know, homeless people. Oh, but aren't kids more important? Like, bro, you can't help. You can't win.
You can't win. It's like it was Elon Musk. Like, he donated like some ridiculous amount of money to charity. People were saying like, but this is only X percentage of your, and it's like, why are you going so granular? Look at what he's done at face value. It's incredible. Stop trying to dig him out.
That in particular thing about Elon, by the way, that just reminded me. So I remember this is when he called out, what was it? World Health Organization.
Oh, and
who I think, right? Yeah. And he was just saying like, anyway, the point I was going to make was, I remember this so vividly. Basically there was like a sub tweet or like a Twitter thread, sorry. And people were just saying like people worry about other people's money more than their own.
Yeah.
Think about where your money goes to and who's spending it. You're paying tax. Where does that tax go? Where do they spend it? That's your money. Why are you not worried about that? You're worried about some next man, how he's spending his money that he's worked hard and he's earned. Yet you'll happily just pay your taxes and not even think twice where that's going and where it's being spent. Because people, again, are so fucking programmed and brainwashed. They're sitting there watching the news, listening to the radio, and believe that at face value, that definitely must be true. I must put my little thing on. You know what I mean? I must stay at home. That must be right.
Got your tin hat on.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. I tell you what, another person who I only watched a little bit, but he seems like a pretty smart guy, Luke Belmer. I don't know if you've...
yes, that's the guy who he met with Tate, didn't he?
Yeah,
is he from Czech Republic, is it? I think he is from Czech Republic.
Yeah. I know he's lives in America.
Yeah, he's the guy that he's made money in crypto, hasn't he?
Mills.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm mentioning him is because I remember watching like some of his videos, and like he just really just tells you, he doesn't want you to like, he just basically tells you certain information and makes you think for yourself, right? Which is what I really like. It's rather than just like, to be honest, there are obviously rants like he goes on to and he's like, you fucking brainwashed, which like I like, you sometimes you need that to get people to fucking tick and think differently. But at least like look at people like Luke Belmer and start to really understand what's going on around the world. Like most things are not the way you think they are. About everything. Learn about how money works. Like most people, including myself when I was younger, you just think that a pound is a pound, a dollar is a dollar. It's certain value, and either you make it or you're not, whatever, right? But like it's literally just, it doesn't really matter. Like if the government wants to print more of it, they'll just do it. Obviously, back in the day, it used to be for one, with a gold exchange, right? Now, look at fucking what happened around COVID time. Look how much money they printed.
Didn't they print more in the 2 years than, was it history?
Some shit like that.
There was some weird statistic like that, and when you put that into perspective, it's fucked. But then that also makes you realize how easy it can be to make money.
Yeah.
All of that money has just flowed into the economy.
Yeah.
Go take some.
Literally doesn't.
Take your piece.
There was something that they, I think, launched literally really recently, like the UK government. It might have actually been not true. It was literally a screenshot of a Twitter thing on somebody's Instagram stories. That's as much as I looked into it. So it might not be true, but
it's the CB.
Yeah. So I don't know if I know it's definitely a thing in China. I just don't know if it's a thing in the UK yet. But apparently they just launched it and are trying it in the UK. Again, look into it. But
so I think with that, what they said was that the prospect of it and the idea of it is enough for them to conduct a certain level of research to implement it. So it's not launched yet, but they're basically and that was it. Wasn't it limiting it to 10 to 25? You can only buy 10 to 25, some weird thing like that.
And it expires. I mean, at least in China it does.
Yeah, it does.
So the currency has an expiry date.
That means no one can, like, you can't get rich. How is anyone going to get a house?
That's how you keep them as slaves. You physically can't break out of the system. And also they obviously determine the value of it. Like from one point of view, I understand it from a government's point of view, because I guess there isn't really that much fluctuation. There wouldn't really be, I guess you could control it as a government, but I mean, if you're just an ordinary civilian, you are literally trapped.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, this isn't here yet.
Yeah.
But it's most likely coming. So, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Like, now's the time to start panicking. And like Tate said, when the borders were closed, if you had enough money, it wasn't an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You were going wherever you want, no issue. Like, and I'm not saying anyway, like, this is sort of like a small, loose comparison that I experienced myself. When we went to Saint-Tropez, the first year, and there was you all had to have, like, your vaccine passport, all that sort of shit, proof of tests, all of that to get in and out of the country. When we got the private jet home, nothing.
Yeah.
When we landed back in the UK, nothing. Like, and we were thinking, like, how would anyone know that we're back in the country? Because there was nothing. We got off the plane and we just handed our bags and got in a taxi. There was nothing, no sort of walking into the airport and doing your scan, nothing like that. Like, if you act now and, like, with stuff like this, then you can you can escape as far as it can go until maybe the whole world's using these currencies, and then then we go to Mars with Elon.
Well, I guess you got crypto always.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting topic for itself. Yeah, man. You just listen, bro. You just have to do something.
Yeah.
You just have to do something. Whether you're doing OnlyFans management, whether you're doing aftermarket arbitrage, whether you're doing fucking breaking into houses and stealing shit. Don't do that, but maybe. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. No, but on a serious note, you have to do something, man. Like, how many fucking podcasts are you going to sit there and watch and listen to until you actually take action?
Yeah.
Or you actually are already taking action, but are you?
Yeah.
Or do you just sit down, watch these podcasts, and it makes you feel like you're doing something, but you're actually not doing shit?
And he won't even mind me mentioning this, a guy that's now, he's doing, like, affiliate marketing for aftermarket, paid him out maybe like $7,000 in the past couple of months. So he's doing well from it. But he said he got to a point where he realized he'd watched pretty much everything. All he would do every night was get in bed and watch stuff on, like, YouTube about making money. And he realized he'd become, like, at face value, like, he'd become an expert at everything without ever actually experimenting doing anything. And then he thought, like, fuck, like, why am I doing this? Started to then actually implement changes, and he's now making thousands of pounds extra every single month on top of his 9 to 5.
Because he just started.
He just started. Yeah. You can sit and watch all day long, but it's not going to change anything. Yeah. Except the thing is, the time will pass, and you've been somewhat productive in trying to learn, but you're still being inefficient in getting to your end goal.
Not only that, information overload.
Yes, exactly, because that's the thing. I can guarantee so many people will sit there and watch. They'll watch your videos on OFM. Yeah. They'll watch our stuff on Amazon. They'll watch stuff on dropshipping. They'll watch trading. How the fuck are you going to know what to do?
Yeah. Like, because there's so many ways of making money. Yeah. You just pick one.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Fucking do it.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you have too much information, and eventually it will start to collide. Like, somebody will say something, somebody will say the opposite thing, and you're like, well, what do I actually do? Yeah. I had that. I don't know if you had this, but when I was starting my marketing agency, this was like 5 years ago. I would obviously start by watching YouTube videos, this and that, make a little bit of money, and then with the money that I saved, I'd buy online courses and learn from them. And eventually, I started like going through so many fucking courses and meeting other guys who had other courses. So we changed like login details, which please don't do. But I done it. You just start to fucking and what I was going to say was you start to kind of see like, oh my God, like this guy says one thing, this guy says the next thing, But what actually happens is, like, at the end of the day, in pretty much every industry, there are people at the top that actually know what the fuck they're doing. Most of the time, they don't really give you everything. Like, I'll be honest, we in our program, we obviously don't tell you exactly what me and my business partner Harry do on our agency. Yep. Of course we don't, because if we did, it wouldn't fucking work. Right? We teach you everything you need to know to start making money. But, and again, this is why we're earlier talking about the kind of higher ticket offer of like, let's just say it's like 10,000. where we come on board your agency and we don't, hide anything. Like, we will literally tell you exactly what we do, etc., etc. But what happens is every industry, there's people at the top that actually know what the fuck they're doing and what's going on. Then you've got the people that are learning from them, and then they create an online course. Then there's people below that learn from them and they create a course which is a carbon copy of theirs, but just changed into their own language. And that cycle keeps fucking happening until you get some fucking idiot who has no idea what they're even doing, selling an online course.
And you're seeing that in real time right now.
Yeah.
You pioneered OFM.
Bro, there are, oh my God, I wish I could say the name, but I don't even want to give them any exposure, the little fucking weasels. I genuinely know 3 people who have literally, I've caught one of them. So let me just tell you this, right? Actually no, 2 of them have been ex-students of ours.
Is this what you told me about the?
Yes. Yeah. So 2 of them have been like ex-students of ours, and then one of them is just some random guy. The point I'm trying to make is they've literally all carbon copied our course. Yeah. Which, like, bro, if you had experience and this and that, well, you wouldn't have to carbon copy our course. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not because there are other people coaching this stuff. That's fine. Genuinely, like, if you know what you're doing, please, like, I advise you to start coaching, because this industry is so fresh. There are so many people that don't know what the fuck they're doing. We need more people to share the knowledge and actually grow as an industry so we can help these girls and OnlyFans models, right? The only issue is if you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you're pretending that you know what you're doing, you're teaching other guys, well, then that's when these issues happen. And unfortunately, people fuck it up for other agencies, like maybe myself. Anyway, we caught them out. I remember there was somebody jumped on our program, and they were like, yo, I can't lie, bro. Like, this is a carbon copy of this other guy. Like, have you just copied them? I'm like, what? Who? So then he shows me all this stuff, shows me the recording, shows me the names of the lessons, shows me his website. Bro, even the video, the sales video on his website, right, where he's selling this course, is fucking word for word, like paraphrasing exactly what I've got going on. And the lessons in the course is the same fucking title of the lesson. Then I asked him to open up one of the lessons. It's the same Google document that we use.
It's so fucked.
Yeah. But at the same time, and I said this to Harry, because Harry was like getting like pissed off. And I was just like, bro, at the end of the day, there's always going to be young guys who are just trying to make money online. Like, you know, I'm not justifying it. I still think you're a dickhead. Don't get me wrong. Fuck you. And you know who you are. But like, there's always going to be young guys who are just trying to scheme and make money online. Like, I get it. But going back to the conversation that me and you had like a little while ago, do you not just feel like a dickhead? Like, you're not going to get far, bro. You're going to get exposed at some point.
And it's like that thing about networking. Who would we want around us? We wouldn't want anyone that was ripping off someone else's stuff. If you look at like the stuff that, let's say, like the people that we know around Manchester, pretty much everyone's doing something different. There's a couple of people that are at crossover, but pretty much everyone's doing something different. If everyone was just ripping copies off each other, what would be the point in us being being together? Because it wouldn't make as much sense as learning. Like, because I know that I can get insight from you from a completely different industry. And a lot of people at face value might think, well, why would that be useful? It's not you. But it's a fresh set of eyes. It's a fresh outlook. And it gives you stuff that you can then implement that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Yeah, what can you learn from somebody that just copies somebody else?
Exactly. Zero.
And I think eventually, obviously, those people just get caught out because eventually you ask them a question and they don't know how to answer it.
And then I honestly think there would be nothing more embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's what I would feel like scared. How people are scared to start? Yeah. I'd be scared to do that. How?
Scared of blagging it and then being exposed around a group of people who once took you seriously.
Yeah.
Then chance is gone.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fuck knows. But like I said, like there's always going to be kids that will try and think of different ways to like scam people and just make money online. But nowadays, I tell you what, there is this guy online, and I fair play to him because I agree. I genuinely think there should be more and more regulations on online. I don't know how. This is the problem, because like, how the fuck do you do it? But because anybody can make a website and anybody can sell like an info product right now, right? Like, how do you do it? But if there was regulations in this industry in coaching, like selling an info product, in order to do that, you'd have to like go through like gov.uk, like if you're in the UK, that is, and you'd have to like prove that, you know what I mean? I don't know how they would do it. That's probably why they haven't, fucking put systems in place. But if that was a thing, bro, like the world would probably be such a better place. There'd be so many less of these idiots who pretend
exactly.
like,
and there would be I think every industry would actually flourish because there wouldn't be nowhere near the amount of people that are staying in the industry. And it would mean that more people would actually be attracted to the industry. People who know what they're doing can take on more people, help more people.
Yeah. But it's just, how do you police it? That's the only thing. But imagine, like if you had to have like it's essentially like how you have to pay taxes in an essence. Imagine if you had to have a certificate from the government in order to actually legally sell this online product. Yeah. And if somebody wasn't, you could literally just, get them fucked. That would be interesting, but it's the same as crypto. How the fuck do you like police it? Because there's so many different ways of just like creating something online and just selling it, which is good and bad at the same time. That's that. But all we can end it on is the fact that me and you can only speak from our experience, from what we actually know from the previous kind of work that we've done, the failures that we've learned. And at the end of the day, the people that are copying and making all this bullshit, they won't ever actually be able to teach somebody anything up to date, because they're only copying what we taught them that we learned maybe a couple months or a year ago. But what me and you are maybe teaching people is up to date, what's happening right now.
Real time. And that's where they'll fail. There's going to be that time lag. And that's when you'll see past the smoke and they'll come crashing down. And they deserve to crash down as well.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a good point to end it on. I don't know where we're up to, maybe like 2.5 hours, something like that. Another banging pod. Super, super good. Thank you for coming on again, mate. It was probably, do you reckon better than last time or what? What are you saying?
Say on par. You guys choose. You guys go watch the first one. This one's definitely a longer episode.
Yeah.
The first one, was it 2 parts?
Yeah, we did 2 parts.
You guys definitely go check out the first one as well.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't.
And hope you all enjoyed, guys. Got another podcast filming next week with guys in property. So make sure to stay tuned and we'll catch you all soon.